Let's be friends.
Have you not?
And here we go. Go. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, geeks and nerds and ambassadors and Mandalorians everywhere, and welcome back to the Ambassadorial Wing. Yes, I am back. Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Tell your friends. I'm back. I'm live. I am alive. I just survived another week at work. Of course, I got one more day at work. And happy to be back here on the Ambassadorial Wing. Hope y'all are having a great Friday night. And tonight we're going to be talking all things Mandalorian. We'll also be talking a few other items in relation to the Star Wars universe. But of course, if this is your first visit to the Ambassadorial Wing, welcome one and all. Hope you all have a great evening tonight. Hope you all enjoy the discussion. And if you want to be a part of said discussion, if you look over there in the chat, I have pinned the link. So if you want to be a part of the discussion, whether you got something good to say about the Mandalorian, whether you got something bad to say about the Mandalorian, it doesn't make a particular difference. Here you can express yourself however way you see fit, so long as you don't blaspheme and so long as you aren't overly profane. So, but with all that being said, before we get started, as you all may have noticed, I have a brand new intro. And I want to give credit where credit is due. And yes, he is backstage. And yes, I'm going to brag on him a little bit because I brag on my friends. That brand new intro was done by my friend, and I hope and I imagine many other people's friends, Mr. Zach Leary. This was a labor of love because, well, he is my friend, and he wanted to give me a kick-ass intro, which he did. So, if you are looking for somebody that can do a good intro, and you have the time and you have the patience to work with him, which I took the time, he took the time to make that intro for me, and I recommend passing some more business his way. Granted, he didn't charge me anything because, well, he's just that type of guy. So, but with all that being said, we don't stand on a lot of ceremony here at the Ambassadorial Wing. We jump straight into the topic, and tonight, like I said, we are talking season 3 of The Mandalorian, and I'm just going to say it. I thoroughly enjoyed it. Were there some things that could have been better? Yes, there were some things that could have been better. But overall, I'm very pleased with season 3. And of course, I don't do these streams on my own. People oftentimes do come here. And tonight we have a regular here, a ambassador amongst other ambassadors. You know him. You love him. I call him my friend because he is the one and the only Mr. Zach Leary.
Hey,
hello, Zach.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can still hear you. Quit worrying if I can hear you. Of course,
no,
I can hear you.
Problems. Yeah, I'm having problems. But thank you, man.
No.
Good to be back.
Good to have you back, buddy. So, and yes, I gushed on you. Deal with it.
And now yeah, it's all good. It's all good. Well, listen, for friends, I'll do some work for free. I've done it before, and I actually, have a good time doing it. So not a big deal.
I know. So, well, we're here. We're back. It's been about a week, give or take, since the finale of Mandalorian season 3. I was very happy. And as I said on a few shorts that I did in the aftermath of the finale, I don't make predictions. I don't posit theories. I wait for the show to play out the way it's going to play out, and then I comment on it. Because, well, that's how I work.
100%. The theory channels, I think, have got a lot of problems. I mean, is there anything more that's a waste of time than that? It's fun in terms of like a writing process. Like it kind of gets your creative gears moving a little bit. Like, oh yeah, that would be cool. But in the end, it's never going to be right.
That's true. That is very true. And, I saw all sorts of theories about how season 3 was going to wrap up, what was going to be the finale, what was going to happen, who was going to pop up, who was going to cameo. And guess what? They kept it simple. No big cameos, No big cameos, no big anything. And the lead up was interesting. I will say, as I said, watch episodes 7 and 8 together because they work better watching them together than watching them separately. Obviously, you had to watch them separately because that's how they were released. But once they're all released, watch 7 and 8 together. It makes more sense. And the way it was edited to where it stopped and where it picked up. Now, there were.
Yeah.
Hmm?
Yeah, I agree with you. I mean, those two are a pretty good pairing. All right, so go ahead. Sorry, didn't mean to cut you off.
You didn't cut me off. Although somebody got incinerated, and I cannot say that I'm not happy at all to see that he was incinerated. And then, of course, when Mr. Moff Gideon, ooh, look at me! I'm a
Yeah.
I'm a Beskar plated cockroach. Quite
well,
literally.
Going back to the theory channels, I mean, I've heard stuff floating around there that
that it was a
yeah.
clone.
Yeah.
It's not a. No, I completely disagree with that because you have to pay attention to how he behaved and what he said. Look at the expression on Gideon's face when he's berating Din Djarin and Grogu. You smothered my clones before they could draw their first breath. My clones, not my brothers, not the clones, my clones. He's taking ownership of those clones. Those were clones of him, not clones from another clone. That was Gideon. In all his pompous, overbearing, stuck-up-ish glory.
Well, let me throw this out there. I think the handling of Gideon was a little problematic. I mean, what do you think of them bringing him back just to kill him after like 3 episodes?
Well, here's the thing. You have to remember, Gideon in the previous 2 seasons, he didn't pop up until the end, really. I mean, we don't see him until the final 2 episodes in season 1 and in season 2 and in here in season 3. So he is a more of a looming presence that only appears when the story necessitates it than a villain that has to be on screen all the time. Because here's the thing. If you remember back to episode 1 of season 3, they referenced that he was supposed to go to a war tribunal. And then I think it's in episode 3 or 4, the convert, where we get a further explanation as to, he was supposed to go to a war tribunal for what he did to Mandalore and what he did against the Republic. But apparently there were stories swirling around that 1, he escaped, and 2, he got his mind flayed, like Dr. Pershing did in that particular episode. And then we get the confirmation in the episode where Bo and then go to Plazar 15, and then you have that scene at the end with Captain Carson Tivia, where him and another pilot and everything go to search for the prison transport, and they discovered that it was attacked and he was extracted.
Right. No, that was good. I mean, that's laying the groundwork. But I like stuff like that. I mean, it makes his return better, but I don't know. I would have preferred it to be a little more spaced out because it seems like they brought him back just to kill his ass off.
Well, here's the thing. A good villain you see sparingly. Now, we've had time with him in the previous 2 seasons. This, for me, was, I think, a satisfying conclusion to his arc, if this, in fact, is the end of his arc. And I get the very distinct impression that he's dead. Those were the only clones that he made, and that's the end of him. And quite frankly, I'm okay with that because I'm ready for another villain. Of course, we know who the next villain's going to be, and that's, of course, Grand Admiral Thrawn, which I'm chomping at the bit for. I mean, I'm not going to lie. When Ahsoka referenced him in season 2, when she's talking to that one, that other magistrate, the woman and everything who had the Beskar spear, everybody lost their collective mind, myself included, because we've all been waiting for Thrawn to come onto the board. He's on the board now, or he's about to come onto the board. I mean, we get a reference, and we get another reference to him in the episode and everything. Spies, and everything when Gideon's with the other Imperial officers and everything, and of course, I being a huge fan of the old expanded universe, seeing Captain Pelion, I'm like, they got the right person, and I think the guy who played him did a good job. And everything, just for a cameo appearance, we'll probably see him more in Ahsoka and everything when that comes out in August. But these last 4 episodes were very enjoyable. I can understand where people had issues with, particularly the episode. I can't remember the title of it off the top of my head, but the one word, Hired Guns. That was the episode where they go to that one planet, Plazar 15, where they have the cameos with Christopher Lloyd, dude, Jack Black, and
we got to talk about
Lizzo.
that. We got to talk about it.
Yeah, and absolutely. And I kind of gave you an open, so there's your open. Have at it.
That episode was the biggest piece of shit of all time. Let's just say it, okay? Can we say that?
I don't know if it was the biggest piece of crap of all time, but honestly, as much fun as it was to see Christopher Lloyd, and even it was fun to see Jack Black, I won't lie.
I agree.
It felt like, and other people have commented on this, I kind of agree, it felt like Law and Order meets Star Wars.
Well, it's kind of beyond that, in that it's such a fetch quest of a premise, first of all.
It is.
They're traveling to accomplish a goal, and they literally are taken from what they're doing and sent on a side mission. Literally. I mean, it's like straight up.
I wholeheartedly agree with you.
But here's the thing. So I did a video about this, and I got some pushback, and I was a little surprised. Some people agreed, some people disagreed, but people were just. I think a lot of people are just so much fans of Jack Black and Chris Lloyd that they can't see the flaws in the episode itself. Which let me throw this out there, and we'll get your take on it as well, obviously.
Sure.
But, Jack Black is a phenomenal dramatic actor. I don't think many people know that about him. I have seen him in great
I agree.
Films. He was in a movie called Bernie, which is a drama murder mystery thing where he kills this old lady. But it's straight up him. He murders somebody. He's in prison, but it's a drama. And he does, in terms of character work, when I saw, that's like 2012, I saw it. And I'm like, fuck, this guy's a great character actor. He's beyond him as a personality. He's amazing, but he's a good dramatic actor. Do you remember him? He was in a Bruce Willis movie. What was that movie?
I honestly don't recall.
The Jackal with Bruce Willis. So he's.
I've heard of it, never seen it. Yeah.
But they missed a great opportunity. They wanted Jack Black playing Jack Black instead of Jack Black giving him an opportunity to play a king, which there's no greater part than a king or a general. That's a great fucking opportunity, and they didn't let him have it.
Well, and here's the other thing, and I do want to say hello to Chat Fulcrum Entertainment. Good to see you guys, and hey, congratulations on hitting 5K subs. So, much kudos to you, and thank you for being here this evening. And Fulcrum said, I like the Jack Black and Christopher Lloyd's cameos, but don't even know who Lizzo is. Lizzo is a very avant-garde musician. Her musical style is very unconventional. And as far as I know, this is her first foray into acting. So, I won't lie. seeing Christopher Lloyd, I know he's up in years. He couldn't do a whole lot. So what they did with him for the episode wasn't bad, and I like the fact that he was, in fact, a separatist sympathizer or a separatist holdout, essentially.
Yeah. Yep.
And I thought he played the part for what he was able to do, concerning his age. He played that part very well.
But all right. Let me say this though. He's another
Sure.
missed opportunity. The big eyes at the end. Come on, dude. It's like it's like Three Stooges type thing. And then if you're going to tease me with he's going to release the droids, you better do it. I mean, don't shoot him before he hits the button. That was the other thing. It's like, all right, finally we got something happening in this episode. Nope. Psych.
Now, I'll say this. The only part that was, I had a small issue with this, but at the same time, looking at the logic of it, I understand the through line. And that was the ending of the episode where they solve the caper and they go off to meet with the other Mandalorians, the privateers, as they refer to them, which is led by the other two Mandalorians that we met in season 2 that were with Bo, and that's of course Kasha Reeves and Axe Woves. And the fight between Bo and Axe was it was intense. I think it was a bit truncated. It could have gone a bit longer. And then Din hands her the Darksaber, and she finally takes it. It seemed a bit anticlimactic, but at the same time, it belonged to her in the first damn place, in essence. But now, I will say one other thing further, and of course, this is no spoiler because at this point, everybody's seen the finale. It does not bother me that the Darksaber got destroyed, because here's the thing. That thing has caused more trouble than it's worth for the Mandalorian since it was created. I mean, if you look at it, it caused more division and more bickering and more infighting with the Mandalorians than it served any actual good purpose. So, personally, for it to be destroyed, I did shed a tear. Was I a little shocked?
Okay.
Yeah, I was. But I did not have a big issue.
Well, but see, what you just said brings to mind why not just have Bo-Katan say that and throw it into the furnace at the end? Like, why not do that and build a character moment out of it?
And I can see that happening too, but at the same time, it was essentially destroyed because you consider Gideon smashes it when he's got his power suit on, which, let's be honest, that's what essentially that armor was a power suit.
Yep.
And it then gets destroyed in the fire when Axe crashes that light cruiser into the base. That thing's pretty much toast. It's gone. It's destroyed. So there's no real point at that time to have another moment with it where it just gets destroyed in a different fashion, essentially. And some people have made a comment, and I have to agree. That saber, the Darksaber, was actually the curse on Mandalore.
Well, that's interesting, but it's like what you just said. I would put what you had said into dialogue for her at that ending scene and make a point of it. If you're going to get rid of a weapon like that, which really there's no reason to get rid of other than if you did a character moment, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, hey, it's a perfectly valid opinion. So, and well, I understand.
I think I'm going to leave and come back to it. I'm still having problems with this. So
okay, all right, I'll let you back in when you get back. So, but honestly, speaking for myself, this season, I've seen comments on Twitter, I've seen comments on social media in general where people have said nothing happened this season. I'm like, did you all watch the same season I did? Did you watch the same season a bunch of other people did? Nothing happened? Really? Nothing happened? Din got redeemed. He's back full in with the Mandalorians again. He's no longer an apostate. Grogu advances further into his apprenticeship, and now he is a full apprentice in the Mandalorian culture. He got his next piece of armor. Bo-Katan finally was able to reunite all of the Mandalorian clans, at least the ones that we see on screen anyways. We get further building with the Imperial Remnant. We know that there's more of them than just Moff Gideon, which we assumed that there would be. And the Mandalorians retake Mandalore. Tell me again how nothing happened this season. Now, I'm gonna say this. You got negative critiques, okay, fine. That's your prerogative, that's your right. I'm not gonna say you couldn't. But think out what you're critiquing rather than just flying off on a wild tangent. I'm not here to berate and belittle anyone, but build a logical argument for what you're going to say. Don't just shoot it out, just pull it out of your ass. So, and I want to say something real quick and everything. If you're wondering why, folks, I'm not on camera tonight, I got home a little bit later than I expected, and I have not had a chance to get myself cleaned up and everything as I would have. So that's why you've got the audio avatar. That's why you've got Ambassador Thrawn rather than, me. So it's not that I don't want to be on camera, but I look like a mess, and I acknowledge that fact. So, but honestly, this, I'll say this, and I probably need to go back and rewatch all 3 seasons now because we have all 24 chapters, and except for one that I have not yet watched, which I'll probably do when I do my full watch through of all 3 seasons. We've had a very compelling and a very entertaining story. Maybe with a few episodes that weren't as good as they could have been, but still, overall, extremely entertaining, thought-provoking, and I think, honestly, a great addition to the Star Wars mythos. Now, that kind of brings me to another point, and I'm kind of filling in time here until Zach gets back, but I've got something I want to say. Everybody here who watches this and is watching this now, or who will catch this on the replay, if you don't know, I am a huge Star Wars fan. Have been since I was a kid. Did I have issues in the past with the prequel trilogy? Yeah, I did. I'll acknowledge it. But once I got a chance to rewatch it and really sit down and analyze the story, I came to appreciate it more than I did when I originally watched it. As far as the sequels go, I think most everybody knows where I stand on this. And that's what brings me to my point here. And I do want to say hello to the chat, George. George, it's good to see you, buddy. Appreciate you stopping in tonight. And George, if you're not doing anything or if you're not too tired, I did drop the link in the chat, and I did drop it in the DMs the DM groups that we're in. A lot of you may be asking the question, or some of you may not even ask the question, Ambassador, where do you stand on The Mandalorian being a bridge between the original trilogy and the sequel trilogy? And that's a very good question, because considering how much I dislike the sequel trilogy, where does this stand, and where does all the other content stand in terms of its connectivity to the OT and the ST? I look at it this way. I look at this as the new EU, the new expanded universe. Now, I know everybody had a big issue when Lucasfilm decided to decanonize the old expanded universe, and I had my issues with it as well. But at the same time, I can appreciate what they're trying to do now. Now, I haven't read or watched everything that they've done in terms of this new EU, this new expanded universe, but that's how I frame it. From The Mandalorian to Book of Boba Fett to Ahsoka to Visions to the Clone Wars to even Bad Batch, even though I didn't watch the full season 2 of Bad Batch, honestly, because I couldn't get invested after season 1. But that's how I look at all this new content that Lucasfilm is putting out. It's a new expanded universe. The only difference is we're getting shows and we're going to get some movies too. Now, does that kind of erase the disaster that was the sequel trilogy? No, it doesn't. But I can appreciate, as a fan, this new expanded universe just as much as I can the old. And honestly, it's just, I'm on Twitter at least a couple of times a day for at least 20, 30 minutes a day, give or take. And a lot of the accounts I follow, they're newer accounts or anything that have popped up and everything, and they're Star Wars accounts. And some of them, we jive perfectly. Other ones, we disagree, but I can at least have this ability to be respectful. But the one thing I can't condone and the one thing I won't be a part of is just mindless ad nauseum negative critique and just baseless critique. Yeah. And that George, that brings up another good point. For those of you that may have caught the short and everything, I sat down earlier this week and I watched Solo, a Star Wars story. And just full transparency, I did not boycott it when it came out in the aftermath of The Last Jedi. I simply didn't have the time and I didn't get a chance to watch it before it went out of theaters. That was the long and short of it with Solo. But I will be doing I'm going to do another watch on it, and I am going to release a review on it. And I think it'll probably be an upload rather than a live stream. But honestly, kind of getting back on track here with season 3 of The Mandalorian, and particularly the last 4 episodes. It's not easy to put together a story like this that spans this much time and has this many characters involved in it. Because first, it was just Din Djarin and Grogu. Then it was Din Djarin and Grogu, and then you had some other side characters like Grief Karga, like Cara Dune, and everything. And I'll say this briefly. I like the character of Cara Dune. I have the Black Series figure of her. It is a shame what happened to Gina Carano. I know to a point she kind of brought it on herself, but all the same, I miss the character because she was a good character. And I think it was honestly a mistake for Disney, for Lucasfilm, to not renew her contract. Just to be clear, she was not fired. Her contract was not renewed. Big difference. They may not have agreed with her politics, but I think honestly, in some instances, politics should not be an issue. And that may not be a popular take per se, but you know what? A person's politics is a person's politics. You pay them to do a job, you let them come in and they do their job. And they leave their politics at the door. And that's most often the case. And I think this season, and that getting back into the season. I've heard some comments or anything that they had to use part of this season to kind of build in part of the Rangers of the New Republic series that unfortunately got canceled or at least postponed for the time being. And I think what they were able to do wasn't bad considering they had to keep the focus on the Mandalorians. And honestly, considering how much they had going on, they were able to weave those elements of the New Republic storyline in very well. I was very happy with what they did. So I wasn't by any means disappointed. And okay. And here is Zach. He's back.
Okay.
Hey, bud.
You can hear me?
I can hear you before.
Hear me? Oh, you could?
Yes, I can hear you.
I don't know what's going on with this, man. I'm having my PC is all fucked up. This is the first time it's done this to me.
Zach, I can hear you just fine. There's no delay. There's no lag. There's no nothing. So I don't know what's going on your end, but on my end, you're coming in 5x5.
I'll tell you what's going on. So I'm still in the join stream fucking image on my thing. Just now going into it. So it's very slow. I don't know. It's just acting weird.
Well, I can hear you just fine.
Okay, so, my bad. Sorry.
You're fine. So did you happen to hear anything I just said in that last few minutes?
Yeah, I did. I was watching most of it.
Okay, so your thoughts
on this being a bridge between the new and the old?
Well, all of it and everything that included. So your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I think it serves its purpose. I mean, I think overall it's a good show. Here's the thing, though. I don't think it's as iconic as a lot of the other stuff. Does that make sense? I mean, I don't know. I just have problems with it. I mean, I like it and I enjoy it. I did look forward to it, but in my mind, it's not going to be the iconic property that a lot of the other stuff is.
And I get your point, and I do agree, because here's the thing. Nothing will ever top the first 6. And nothing will ever top the old expanded universe. Yes, I said the original 6. If you want to say just the original 3, that's your prerogative. But nothing will ever be as iconic as the original Star Wars, as Empire, as Jedi, as Revenge of the Sith, The Phantom Menace, and Attack of the Clones. Nothing will ever be as iconic as those. Especially the original 3. Lucas set a bar so high that it's going to be next to impossible for anybody to hit it.
I don't think so. Though on that, I disagree. I think the Fallen Order came pretty close. In my mind, that was such a great fucking Star Wars story. I think you can get there. I think Filoni got there with Clone Wars. I think he got there with a few episodes of Rebels, and I think Mandalorian gets there in a few episodes. I don't know. There's just when you look at Mandalorian as a whole, there problems do come to the forefront. And I heard you talking about people shitting on the show. You can't shit on the show without having a few, butts and, alsos in there, because it is good in a lot of ways. But you see attack ships, big cruiser ships being blown up so easily, and it just is like, what the fuck are they doing? You see the captain's ship get blown up by 2 little baby ships. You're like, what? How does that work? So stuff like that. But the thing is, you might agree with this. This season was hurt the most by them trying to stuff too much shit into 8 episodes or whatever it was, 10 episodes.
It was 8 episodes.
Okay,
it's been 8 episodes each season.
Okay, but they put too much stuff in here, man. They really did.
I touched upon that a little bit, particularly with the elements of them trying to include some of the content that they had to, I think, in a way, shoehorn. And considering how they shoehorned it in with the fact that Rangers of the New Republic got canceled, they did the best they could with what they were able to do with it.
Well, I like that character, that Asian guy, and that whole thing.
Oh, Captain Teva.
He was
Carson
good.
Teva. He was very good. I'm more than inclined to agree. So, and do want to welcome another member to the chat, to the panel. You also know him. I love him. He's my friend. The George. Come on. There we go. Hey, George.
What's going on?
Yo.
Well, you've been here. You know what we're talking about. So, let me get this point out, and then George, I'll let you give your take. As far as the elements with the New Republic goes for this season, with the episode specifically the convert, and then you have the Rangers pop up. You know, Carson Teva. You see Zeb from Rebels, and so on. They did okay with that. I think it maybe was, as Zach mentioned, a little bit too much, but they've got to give some scope to what's going on in the galaxy. They can't just ignore everything else like they did in the sequel trilogy. So, George, your thoughts on season 3? All 8 episodes or just the last 4? The floor is yours, buddy.
Well, first I'll say I do agree with you. Like, while that episode wasn't the best, I feel like at the same time it was nice to see what's been going on in the New Republic, because you really had no idea, like, in the sequel trilogy, like, what was going on before the events of that film took place. As far as the season goes, I do think it was the weakest of the 3. Not to say it was bad, because I don't think it was bad. It did have a couple of episodes where I didn't care that much, but I will say, like, the last 2 episodes were the highlights of the season.
Yeah.
Yeah, the thing I found funny was everybody was theorizing, well, who's going to pop up to save the day? And then when nobody popped up, it was just them doing it themselves. I'm like, well, that makes sense. It's their home world. It should be them that fights for it. And whether they win or they lose, it's on them. I mean, you can't top a cameo as iconic as what they did at the end of season 2. It's who you're going to bring in. I mean, I know that there's been stuff popping up on Twitter about Tamora Morrison waiting for the call to come back in as Boba Fett for the finale, and he never got it. And I do feel bad for him. I legitimately do. But do we really want to cheapen the Mandalorian's victory or defeat with a cameo of another character again, like they did? Because honestly, to me, it just feels like it's a copy and paste of what they did at the end of season 2. With season 2, it made sense because they were backed into a corner, and who's going to come in and save the day? Luke freaking Skywalker. The reactions are out there for everybody to see. I think anybody less would have cheapened what they achieved at the end in the finale, honestly. So,
I
Zach, George, your thoughts?
I also think you don't want to rely too heavily on nostalgia, because you can either live or die by nostalgia. And this doesn't just go for Star Wars. I think this goes for any franchise at this point, because if you see a lot of franchises, not just Star Wars, they like to rely on that nostalgia. And if it works, like, let's say the season 2 finale of Mandalorian, or something outside of Star Wars like No Way Home, then that's great. But sometimes that doesn't always help. I mean, we've seen in the sequel trilogy that even though you bring back your favorite characters, that doesn't mean you're still going to get a good product. So I like that season 3, it was basically they were able to build up that finale without having to rely on other legacy characters. You know, it's the Mandalorian that are doing this. That it's Grogu that's doing this. Yes. Because that's kind of been the theme of the season, like that it's been the Mandalorian. And you don't want to, like, undo that.
Yeah, I totally agree. I mean, you've got nostalgia, which is something that kind of removes the need for quality, right? Right? So it is problematic. I totally fucking agree. I mean, if a studio is relying on nostalgia, it's a big problem. But I like that this season introduced a couple of new things. Pirate guy, I was like, okay, we've never seen this. The pirates working with the Empire, that's interesting. The First Order.
You mean the Imperial Remnant? Yeah.
Well, whatever, man. I mean, whatever.
No, not whatever. You're gonna do it. You're gonna say it right. It's the Imperial Remnant. It's not the First Order. First Order's on the board yet.
Well, we got Commandant Hux involved.
Yes, so that's true. We have the groundwork, but they're not there yet.
I don't know, but let me throw this out here. I'm very curious to hear you guys' take on this. It's very difficult in my mind to throw out a bunch of enemies wearing indestructible armor. It kind of makes for lackluster fights.
Oh, you're talking about the Imperial Super Commandos?
Yeah, it's everybody shooting each other. Nobody gets killed. You got to get in surgical. I don't know.
It's not exciting.
No, I agree.
Yeah, that for me was a bit of a problem, but I will say this: that okay, Vader had his hallway scene, Luke had his hallway scene. Now, Din Djarin's had his hallway scene. Who had the better hallway scene? I think we're only gonna say either it's 1 and 2, Luke or Vader, and then a distant third is Din. But I'll say this: Din Djarin's hallway scene, that was freaking hardcore because he had to pretty much commando that whole thing because he had no weapons, and he said to Grogu, "This is going to get messy." Now, one other thing I want to bring up, and everything, and this is something that a coworker pointed out to me, and I think there's merit here. What they did with IG-11's body, they essentially created a mech suit, which, if you really think about it, is the first mech suit ever in Star Wars canon, to the best of my knowledge. How cool is that?
You've got what about the Palpatine creepy throne thing?
That's not a mech suit.
Do you guys know what that's called? They had a cool name for that. I forget.
I have no idea, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I pretty much blocked everything from Rise of Skywalker.
I just found that whole thing in Rise of Skywalker to be weird with him. I mean, like, it was weird enough that they just basically said somehow Palpatine returned, and it felt a bit lazy. But, like...
It was lazy!
But, like, the fact that he was, like, attached to a machine, I was like, wait, what? Like, where did this come from?
Well, they came up with a badass name for it. The name kind of made it better. I can't remember.
It wasn't that badass, if you can't remember the name.
Yes,
and like, I'm not, like, hating on it for the sake of hating on it. It's just, like, looking back now, like, after reviewing movies for, like, 2 years on YouTube, it's like you notice stuff and you can't help but critique stuff and notice how certain things just feel lazy and just come out of nowhere.
Yeah.
Like, that's, like, an observation that I now have that I didn't have back in 2019 when I was like, it's but it's not, like, terrible, but it's like I mean, it was a fun theater experience, or at least my theater was, but now it's okay, that didn't really make sense looking back.
Yep, I had the same experience. I went in stoned, okay? I'm not a big, I don't know. Listen, I went in stoned and had a fucking blast. But you leave the theater a couple hours later, you're like, not that great.
Mike's, for neither one of you knew me at the time and everything when I went to see Rise of Skywalker, and I don't want to rehash the whole thing, but I'll say this briefly. My experience of the Rise of Skywalker, I had a thumping, rip-roaring headache, and when they killed Palpatine, I was like, I can take no more. I told my wife and I told my friends very quietly because we're in the theater, I'll be waiting for y'all out. I'll be waiting for you out in the lobby. I can't take no more. The only positive takeaway from that night was afterwards when me and the missus and our two friends and everything, it was a couple of friends of ours, it's a couple we went to college with. And we went to dinner at Olive Garden afterwards, and then we went and did a little retail therapy. We went to a used movie store. We picked up some movies, and we spent our time over dinner just tearing the movie apart. That was a good takeaway from that whole evening.
Well, I
everything else.
Everything else. What?
Everything else was just I had a headache.
Yeah. No, I hear you. I looked over at the people I was with when I had seen it a couple of times. You may be shocked, but I saw it more than once. I saw it 3 times, and I would look over at the people I was with when Palpatine did the lightning attack. Everybody like had a mini stroke. Like people were impressed by that, at the very least.
I wasn't,
but I think we could tear apart the Mandalorian a little bit. George, how did you feel about the pirate stuff?
It's like I don't think it was bad, but it didn't like stand out to me. See, like that's the thing how I feel about the season. It was like I enjoyed it, but compared to like the first two seasons, it didn't stand out to me. It
Yeah, gotcha. So Gorian Shard, what's our thoughts on him, like the design and everything like that?
The design was very cool. I liked the design, and honestly, you and I have talked about this, Zach, and I
Yep.
see your point. I see your point and everything, and I will concede those points to you because they aren't bad points. However, I look at this season as a whole, and when I look at it in this way: setup, payoff, setup, payoff, setup, payoff. It's a perfect. Okay, not perfect, but a near perfect example of good linear storytelling. You set
Oh,
up your stuff at the beginning, you pay it off down the road in the subsequent episodes. They set up Gideon, paid him off. They set up Gorian Shard in that threat, they paid it off. They set up the not the resurgence of the Imperial Remnant, but hey, they're here. They're starting to creep in. And not only that, they've got a mole right smack dab in the middle of their whole operation with the one woman. G26 is her designation. Um Lena Kane. Kane. I know I remember her last name. The one Imperial
we
officer and everything
yeah,
that
we
we
know who
got
you're talking about.
introduced to.
Yep.
Everything that got introduced in the episode The Convert with Dr. Pershing.
Yeah, she was
And
good. Is that her first appearance, or was she around before this?
she was in season 2, but she was a background character more than anything.
Oh,
Everything
okay.
because she was an officer on Gideon's cruiser. Everything is
Oh, okay.
where we had seen her before. Yeah, that's where we had seen her before. She was an officer on Gideon's cruiser.
I thought the actress fucking nailed it, though. I mean, in this
She
one, right?
did. She very much did.
Yeah.
And after that episode, I mean, she only appeared one other time, and that was in the. Oh, let's see. That was in actually the episode The Pirate. No, she appeared twice. She appeared in The Pirate, and then she appeared in Spies.
Yep. And
And she was
at the beginning, with you got the creepy little probe droid coming in the back
yeah.
alley of Coruscant. Nice little scene there.
Okay? I want to ask a question, both of you. I'm assuming both of you have seen both Blade Runner movies, both the original and Blade Runner 2049.
I actually watched Blade Runner 2049 for the first time on New Year's.
Oh, okay. Have you ever seen the original, George?
I've seen the original a few times.
Okay. Did anybody else get a vibe of Coruscant set in the Blade Runner universe, maybe just a little bit, particularly with the way the Imperial officer Kane was dressed? Because her coat was very reminiscent of Decker's trench coat, or was it just me?
I can see how I can see your point of view, like thinking about it, like the way Coruscant looked, like maybe it was the lighting as well.
Yeah,
It's a
very
little
much so.
grittier than normal, for sure. Yeah, I get it.
When you okay, point made, point taken, point done.
Point
As far
agreed
as
with. Seconded.
Yes. As far as Gorian Shard goes, yeah, he was an interesting design. We'd never seen a character, we'd never seen his species before, obviously. And okay, another small little plot point: his first mate. I saw somebody. He was dressed like Smee from Peter Pan. Did anybody else pick up on that?
Yes.
His pirates were embarrassing. But see, that's the downside to his whole plot thing. Those pirates drove me up the fucking wall. I could not I couldn't deal with it. They were so goofy and they were such goofballs when you should have
Well,
done. Well, no,
it did. It
Go
did,
ahead.
and I do like the prequels. Revenge of the Sith is my second favorite Star Wars film. It reminded me of some of the goofiness of the prequels, love it or hate it.
mhm.
Like I did get like a prequel vibe with that.
I got a Leia being
Mhm.
chased by morons vibe from it. Disney Plus vibe.
Honestly, the episode didn't bother me. I thought, the pirates could have been a little bit more menacing. Maybe see them tearing Navarro up a little bit
Yeah,
more rather than just sitting around drinking, having already torn the place up. But I will say this. I geeked out just a little bit because this is the first time we've seen, in live action at least, Mandalorians in a combat situation, more than just Din Djarin or Bo-Katan, actual Mandalorians in a combat setting. And it was freaking badass. And somebody made a good observation. Um, these are essentially like these are like SEAL teams. Navy SEALs. Because essentially they are all trained so well, they operate as tightly as a SEAL team would. And I enjoyed that part. And I'm going to say this. I don't know what's up with the armorer, but she can handle herself with nothing more than a forger's hammer and a pair of tongs, and she kicks some serious ass in that episode. Not to mention the finale. She's flying through the air with her freaking backpack, and she's just smashing super commandos with that Beskar hammer, and she's just going to town. I'm like, you kick some ass, girl.
Well, if there was a Mandalorian election, I'd vote for her over Bo-Katan.
Yeah. So, George, your thoughts?
Oh, I definitely agree with what you just said. And one of the things, because I'm with Gordon Shard's design,
Mhm.
he reminds me a little bit of Swamp Thing from DC.
Yes, just a
Like
little bit.
I don't know if anyone like that's familiar with Swamp Thing like got that vibe.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, I
It's
agree.
ironic because that's like gonna be like a future DC film like Swamp Thing.
Yeah,
James
he had a cool look. He had a badass voice. The whole thing, the design, his ship, the elements were all there, but they had a goofy ass crew around him. George brought that up. I totally agree that the crew was goofy as fuck. We shouldn't have been dealing with that. Give them some badass pirates. Like if you go back and look at like Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, or something like that.
Ooh,
those pirates were creepy. So give us something like that. Barbossa's crew. Give us something like that.
Especially because like Mandalorian always feels like it has a serious tone compared to all the other Star Wars movies and shows. It kind of felt a bit out of place.
Yeah, used to, right? Used to.
Well, okay. Let me ask you a question. In that episode, Pirates, when the armorer pops up in that tower where the pirates are shooting down on him from above, did anybody get a Mace Windu vibe from Attack of the Clones? Or was it just me? Was it just me, or did either one of you pick up on that vibe too? Because the camera angle, the fact that all you see is her hammer and she's walking in, it just felt like Mace walking into that arena. And then he pops up behind Dooku and Jango Fett, and he's like, this party's over.
We got to get Mace back in the fucking Disney Plus. We got to have a Mace show, dog.
He's dead. Dead. Mace Windu's dead.
No.
Yes.
Samuel Jackson refuses to believe it.
So do I.
He's dead. DED. Dead. No more Mace Windu.
Is alive.
Mace Windu is dead.
I'm alive, motherfucker.
You're dead, mother effer.
Even if he survived from the lightning, from the Force lightning, there's no way he would survive that fall.
No way in hell.
I have had it with these motherfucking pirates on this motherfucking planet. We need Mace. We need him.
Mace is dead.
Unless
dead
he
the
got
doornail.
unless he got sent to a different universe and
No,
became Nick
no,
Fury.
no, no alternate universe, none of this alternate timeline garbage. No.
Just kidding.
Okay, I say
They'll
this
bring him back.
respect.
I'll tell you why. Because there's a paycheck involved for Disney.
He's doing Secret Invasion and he's doing the Marvels. He don't need to be in Star Wars.
Famously, he don't need to be in Star Wars. So somebody once said about Sam Jackson. Chris Rock said this about him. You pay Sam, he'll show up. So
The thing is that with Samuel Jackson, he definitely enjoys doing these kind of projects. So if he was offered to come back, he would definitely do it.
Absolutely.
But at this point, Mace would be an old man. Not to mention he'd be missing a hand. He'd be decrepit as hell. What the hell's he gonna do?
He'd be an old
drool all over. He'd drool over somebody. He ain't gonna
be an old savage. Anyway,
no.
So
Mace Windu is dead. Get over it.
All right. Let me throw it back to Gorian Shard. Final thoughts on that.
Gorian Shard.
They missed an opportunity. I would have liked to have seen him for maybe half the season. He was in 2 episodes, dude. So it's like, you've got a great villain right there, and you just throw his ass away. Blow up his ship. It was almost like he allowed himself to be killed, where he didn't jump to hyperspace. He didn't do nothing. They made him seem totally incompetent. And you had a plot thread there where he was working with the Imperial Remnant, which could have been fleshed out. That was a badass character, missed opportunity right there.
Maybe a little bit, yeah, but here's the thing. You can only fit so many villains into one season. Just saying.
Well, Giancarlo didn't even want to fucking be there. He was contractually obligated to do something else. He had his hair all different. He couldn't have a facial hair. He didn't even want to be there. He was busy. Bring him in season 4.
I'll say this too to Mr. Giancarlo Esposito. Happy 65th birthday. He turned 65 the other day.
Oh, wow. He looks good for 65.
Yes, he does.
Well, he's a savage, but the thing is, the lack of the mustache took me out of it. He didn't look like...
Nah, he looked just as menacing without it.
To me, it's a big deal. I mean, you got to have him look like his character. You know what I'm saying? He looks like he's doing something else.
Do you really want them to CG in a mustache like they did, like they CGI Henry Cavill's mustache out for him?
Don't remind me. No.
That's why I brought it up. Do you really want them to CGI in a mustache just to make you happy, Zach?
No, you can pay. Who's the creature guy? What's his name? Who did all the big creature movies? Worked with George Romero. Hire somebody like that, and have him put together a $5 little mustache.
He don't need a mustache.
Yes, he does.
Yes, he does. No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does. Yes, he
does. No, he doesn't.
Yes, he does.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah, it's called continuity. All of a sudden, he's changed his whole look he's had for his entire adult life.
So what?
Maybe what I'm saying is
maybe the New Republic shaved it off of him to shame him.
Maybe as a commentator, as somebody who's into film and all this shit, as a film nerd, whatever you want to say, what came to my mind immediately was he's doing another project. They wouldn't let him do it. That's what came to mind. That's all I'm saying.
You lose nothing. It's a mustache. You lose nothing. It's a mustache. He still gave a good performance.
All right. I'm not going to make a big deal out of it, but it was a little bit of a
You
problem.
already have, you knucklehead.
All right. Well, there you go. I have a problem with that.
But frankly, no. I didn't have a problem with him not having a mustache. I thought a bunch of the theories that were coming up about the fact that he didn't have a mustache are a little preposterous. Oh, it's a clone. No, it's not a clone. It's him. He would want to be the one that takes down the Bo-Katan and the Mandalorian. He want to be the one that takes down the Mandalorians. Period.
Well, you want to go down that road. Why are the clones not bald also? If that's
they weren't bald. He had hair. He just the hair was.
Yeah, I'm saying why wouldn't the clones be bald? Do you see what I'm saying? If the mustache is the problem.
Well, Hell, I don't know. That's the way they designed him. Maybe at the time when they took the DNA sample, he had no mustache, or maybe it just hadn't grown in yet because they were in the tanks. And I'll say this: during that whole Hollow conference with the other Imperial officers, they're like, "Well, you were using Dr. Pershing for your own ends instead of the greater good." Think about it. He was using Dr. Pershing, which is a very high priority Imperial asset, for his own ends rather than for the greater good of the Empire and for the future of the future of the First Order. He pretty much screws him over because, let's be honest, Pershing was a genius when it comes to genetics and cloning. And now his brain is Swiss cheese. I won't lie, I would have liked to have seen Pershing at least once and maybe a background scene and see how he was doing after having his mind turned into a big pile of Gouda.
I think we could see that in a future episode for sure.
Well, at this point, I would have preferred it this season more than anything. But at this point...
Go ahead, sorry.
No, I was just going to say, at this point, it's not really necessary. He's a vegetable. Who cares?
Well, it would be cool. I think we could see it in season 4, maybe. But you were talking about setups and payoffs. For me, the whole show feels like a video game quest. Like, it feels like a pick your own adventure quest. The through line is hard for me to identify.
Wasn't for me. It was pretty easy. The Mandalorians taking back their homeworld and setting up the broader context of the galaxy at the time when they're doing it. No. This isn't complicated, Zach. No offense.
I think it is, because you've got, the show is not called The Mandalorians. It's called The Mandalorian.
The focus for Mando was the fact that he was the driving force behind them retaking Mandalore. Not only him taking on Grogu as his son, and I'll be honest, as someone who is an adoptee himself, that for me was a great moment. Because he can't take the oath because he's not of age. He can't speak. So Din saying, well, what if I adopt him? And the armorer is like, yeah, you can adopt him, and you have to take him on his journey so that he is now as an apprentice. You have to do for him what your teacher did for you. It was I think, just speaking personally for myself, it was a great moment. Had a lot more emotional weight than that and we'll get to that. We're going to talk about a couple other things tonight besides just season 3. It had a lot more emotional weight than that nothing burger of a certain character stealing a family name. We're going to talk about that whole mess.
Oh,
and
boy.
I'm going to tick somebody off that I love very dearly when we do.
I do have a question, because
sure, George.
This is something that I've been actually thinking of when it comes to this, and looking back at the end of Book of Boba Fett, and I love those last few episodes. Do you think they should have waited to have the Grogu Din reunion for this season instead of the end of Book of Boba Fett?
Maybe.
Because I feel like you could have maybe done that for like the first 4 episodes of the season, and then like the last 4 focus on their reunion and how like that impacts the later events. Like, I feel like there could have been more emotional weight for like the first few episodes of seeing what life was like with both of them separated, with Grogu focusing on his Jedi training and then deciding to like not continue it.
But instead go back to Din, yeah.
And then go back to Din and like how he's like dealing with, not having Grogu in his life anymore. Like some of the adventures that he goes on without Grogu. Mm-hmm. I feel like that could have been a very interesting dynamic.
Yeah.
And I love those last few episodes of Book of Boba Fett. Don't get me wrong. I thought those were great Star Wars. But I feel like
Mhm.
it had you just waited that out for this season, I think you could have had a better season.
Yeah, well, the thing is, I think they tried to smush too much shit into this new Mando season, where you could have started the season off, had him go and get Grogu, have him go and visit Luke in Mando season 3. You
Yeah.
know, put a time break in there. Maybe it's been a year, or it's been, which it was. Yeah, I think
Well,
it was.
it was actually 2 years.
Well,
Favreau came out and said it. Everything. So it was two
right,
years.
right.
So,
So
but
have
yeah,
him
go ahead.
go have him go and visit Luke beginning of this season. Why bring Gideon into it? I don't know. It's meandering, dude. That's my thing. The Mandalorian is a meandering show where you've got some great moments. Them charging in on jetpacks, awesome. But I don't know. For me, you need something a little more straight to it. Like for Boba Fett, I would not have had Luke in Boba Fett. I would not have had Din Djarin in Boba Fett. It should have been a Boba Fett fucking show first and foremost, and it really wasn't.
Yeah.
You had cameo parts outshining the star of the show.
That's what I mean. Like that's why like those few episodes with Din Grogu, Luke, even Ahsoka appearing, like those were like the best episodes, but those
Right.
weren't even Boba Fett centric. And I have no problem with like those first 4 episodes of Book of Boba Fett, but it
I don't either.
wasn't as good as like those first 2 seasons of Mandalorian.
Well, the Boba Fett was a nightmare. In my mind, that's the worst show we've had so far. Kenobi had a bunch of problems. The Mandalorian has been the one that's been, you know, routinely pretty good on most episodes. But I don't know the Disney stuff. They're meandering. They're trying to connect everything. Not everything has to be an MCU. I like a good character piece. I like a good, nice little character study.
Yeah, I agree. I hold neither one of the points. All the points that both of you are bringing up and everything. I don't disagree with. You know, I look at Boba Fett as it's titled as a book, but I look at it as sort of an anthology, which has a central focus character, that of course being Boba Fett. But you can bring in other characters that are connected to the main character to flesh out the world. Because think about it, who are the two characters that would be most connected to Boba Fett? Obviously, the Din Djarin, the Mandalorian, and of course, Luke Skywalker. Those would be the two characters in essence, and everything that would be most connected to Boba Fett. Do I agree with everything that they did in that series? No, because George, you bring up a very valid point,
I would
and
disagree.
I think maybe it would have.
I would disagree, but finish your point. I would disagree about who he's most connected with, though.
Okay, fair enough. But George, yeah, they probably should have held those episodes, or at least those elements from those episodes, for Mando season 3, rather than putting him into Book of Boba Fett. You could still have Din Djarin in Book of Boba Fett. You could still have the biggest part of that episode, but maybe have him do another mission or something, because we see him on one mission where he goes to, and they finds the covert, and then he gets booted out of the covert because he's taking his helmet off, and then he goes to Tatooine and he gets his new ship. That for me was a good episode, but it could have been moved very easily, or been left very easily in Book of Boba Fett, and then have Fennec show up at the end and have him come in. And then have him come in as the extra enforcer to work with Boba Fett, but leave the Grogu and Luke and Ahsoka part out of Book of Boba Fett and put it in Mandalorian instead. But that being said, Zach, who do you think is more closely connected to Boba Fett instead of Luke and Mandalorian?
I would base his entire character arc on revenge rather than him protecting people he doesn't even fucking know. What is his connection to Tatooine? I have no fucking idea. I would have him have a revenge arc and go and visit the grave of Mace Windu or something like that, and try and go to Mace Windu's home world, or he should be after Mace Windu or Han Solo.
That's a good point.
And you can have him chasing whispers, right? You don't even have to bring Mace or Han into it. Have him find himself on that path to revenge. And I would have set him up in like a bat cave type thing and give him. You could have Fennec was his sidekick, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Fennec Shand. Yeah.
Yep, have her there and have maybe a robot butler. Give him a bat cave and have him go on missions. But the through line, he's trying to hunt down the person who either did what Han, who sent him to death, or who killed his father, and have that revenge arc, and have like almost I would do Star Wars Batman with him is what I would pretty much do.
It's not a bad idea, really. It isn't. That's not a horrible idea. So,
but have the butler give him a badass little home base on an interesting looking planet, not a desert. But that would be the
yeah. Concept. No, that's honestly that's not a bad idea. But coming back to season 3, obviously we get the payoff. They get they get their world back. They get man, and we find out some interesting details that there were survivors, not a whole lot, but there were survivors from the Purge, the Night of 1,000 Tears. And we find out that Bo-Katan did surrender, but Gideon, being a vicious SOB that he is, he just kept bombing. The Empire wanted to have at least part of the Mandalorians under their boot, have them fully disarmed, but still have them as a servant world. But Gideon, being a bloodthirsty warlord that he is, he's like, screw that, I'm gonna bomb him into oblivion. And he did. And think about it. Now that planet is his tomb. But the other interesting thing is they introduced the fact that while the surface is inhospitable, underneath the surface, life is starting to come back to Mandalore. So Mandalore is more hospitable than we originally thought. The surface looks like hell, but underneath it, it's still habitable. So it's going to be interesting to see what happens in. I don't know if we'll see Mandalore in Ahsoka or when we'll see it again. I imagine we might see it in season 3 or season 4. Excuse me. But honestly, I think the payoff for the season was a good one. I understand why other people disagree. You were expecting more. You're expecting a better story, or more maybe a better put together story. That's partly fair enough, but I'm happy. Din and Grogu, they're a family now. The Mandalorians have their homeworld back, and they have at least one home. They have one other world that they can go to if they so choose, and that's of course Navarro. So they've got themselves the starts of a nice little confederation, so to speak.
I mean, I'll definitely say like I was more satisfied with this ending than I feel like I've been with like some of the more recent like Marvel shows, because it's not that I dislike any of the shows or anything like Disney in recent years. It just feels like Disney, the quality isn't up to what it was like before 2020.
A few years ago.
Yeah, and it just feels like there's been a drop. And this isn't just like Star Wars or like even Marvel. Like I noticed it with like, Pixar with like their animated stuff as well.
I haven't watched a Pixar movie in years.
But like this
I still
like,
haven't. I own.
But obviously, as you can tell, like I'm big into watching Disney stuff, regardless of politics or whatever. I love Disney. I consume anything Disney because I've grown up on Disney, and I love the brands that Disney owns. So for me, like noticing that there's just been a drop in quality, and it's not like it's bad. It's just not as it doesn't feel as unique as it once did.
Yeah,
and like
Mhm.
it's not even a Lucasfilm problem because people will always point the finger at Lucasfilm. It's like I noticed this with all of Disney's studios, and obviously that Disney made the big change several months ago of getting rid of Bob Chapek and bringing Bob Iger back. I
Yep.
don't know if that's going to be how that's going to be for the long run. Maybe it will put a pause and like maybe help bring quality back before Bob Iger left.
Yeah,
We have yet to really see. I mean,
Yeah.
maybe obviously we'll see next week with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. Could that maybe help turn things around? I don't know. But it's just like I feel like with Disney as a whole, it's not terrible,
But it could be
but
better.
it's lacking what I felt like made those first two seasons of Mandalorian great, what made some of the other stuff from other things of Disney great. There's improvement that can happen.
Yes.
It's just a matter of when is this going to happen. Especially because they want to do all these movies. They want to do a movie tied to the Mandoverse and all that. So it's like you want to turn this stuff around before you get those movies out because that's going to be very important.
And go ahead, Zach.
I feel that their hiring decisions is really what has sunk their ship over and over again. As you see them hiring people who are not qualified for the job, which is in a lot of ways welcoming people who are yes men, right? Ryan Johnson had directed one or two films, but they've done this over and over again. Yeah, one film, Looper, which wasn't even that great. It was okay, So, but you see them hiring people like the new woman who's been hired to direct the Ray film.
Yeah,
totally
good segue.
I've never even heard of this person before.
Of course not. She's unqualified. Her biggest two titles are directing 2 episodes of Miss Marvel. She's not qualified to direct not only a feature film but a Star Wars feature. I wouldn't even hire her really to direct anything. She hasn't proven herself. Not to say she's good or bad, but we see them taking these risks, going with people who nobody knows. If you want to make a badass movie, hire Guillermo del Toro, hire Ridley Scott, hire somebody with a pair. And there's a lot of women with a pair. So hire somebody who has a proven track record and a vision.
And it's crazy. It's crazy because in that same announcement, they announced James Mangold's going to direct something. It's like, oh, James Mangold, that's a great choice. He made Logan. I don't know if you guys ever saw Ford v Ferrari.
Yeah,
but like that was another
yep
great film. So it's like you have an inconsistency. I feel like where on one hand you're gonna hire a phenomenal director for this, but then you're gonna hire an unknown for this.
Yeah, it doesn't work. I totally agree.
Yeah, and the woman's name is Shireen Obed Chenoy. I'm trying to look up her IMDb, but there's not a whole lot to look up.
I have more fucking credits than she has on there, Ambassador. What does that tell you?
Yeah. Well, I have a credit on there too, for a couple, but still, it's under a pseudonym. It's underneath my proper name. But that's kind of a good segue and everything into, because I think we can, if we want to come back to Mandalorian, we can, because honestly,
you want to do closing thoughts on it, or let's do closing thoughts and then go to this.
Closing thoughts on Mando. So George, Zach, I've kind of given mine, so your closing thoughts on season 3.
Go ahead, pal.
Overall, while I did enjoy the season, it did feel like the weakest. I felt like the first episode had some entertaining moments, but like could have been better. The second episode was a lot better. It just felt like a roller coaster, and it felt like it's weird. I like the even number episodes. The odd number episodes, the only one I really liked was episode 7, which was like the turning point of the series. And one thing I didn't get touched upon, I'm glad Ahmed Best got a chance to redeem himself.
Yeah,
I thought that was a great scene.
How did we forget that part? Dang it.
And the thing is, I'm a big Revenge of the Sith fan, so like anytime you revisit Order 66, I'm up for it, and I'm gonna love it probably. And I love that scene. That was probably one of my favorite scenes from the season.
Yeah, Ahmed Best is Kelleran back, the sabered hand, absolutely badass. And
what was his name?
The character, Kelleran Beck. Kelleran
Okay.
Beck.
I like it.
Yeah, I do too. And I'll say this real quick, and then Zach, you can give your final thoughts. When the credits popped up for the episode, I was like, he was in this. I was like, what the hell? Who was he? And then I remembered back. I was like, oh, he was the Jedi who saved Grogu. Okay, he was a badass. He was cutting down clone troopers left and right, and then they had that. Okay, I must say it. Of the vehicles we've gotten in the first 3 seasons of The Mandalorian, the Razor Crest, Cobb Vanth speeder, and now the Bark speeder, or just the speeder with the sidecar. I love those. I did. I absolutely positively loved those. So, but that's just, that's me gushing a little bit because Ahmed Best, he got a lot of hate, and I think honestly a lot of undue hate, especially from myself.
Yes.
I will own up.
Yes.
I will own up to how much I dislike Jar Jar Binks. But he really got a chance to shine in that episode, and I was very happy for him. And then I will say this: the Star Wars fan base really responded nicely, and I think that was great. So
I wouldn't even say I dislike Jar Jar Binks. It's just like I don't know if all the characters, like in episode 2 when he gave like emergency powers to Palpatine, I was like, did they purposely do that? Like, did they purposely have this like comedic character like give emergency powers?
Yes,
to Palpatine.
It works. It works. In real life, we've got all these bozo mutt politicians. So of course, to me, it works perfect. These people don't know what the fuck is going on. When you look at them talking about TikTok, so is 20 likes good? It's like, yeah, that's who's making our laws right now. So
yeah.
So Zach,
Zach, your final thoughts on season 3.
Yeah, Ahmed Best. I mean, a great guy. If you look at his interviews over the years, I've always liked him. So I think he's a good guy. I think the hate directed towards Jar Jar is warranted. I think that's one of the worst characters we've ever had, but it's not his fault.
No.
But yeah, great seeing him, and I've always liked him. So good for him. I don't know. The season is a little bit of a mixed bag. I enjoyed a lot of the action sequences, the Mandalorians, charging in it at the end with the jetpacks, really good stuff. It felt badass, felt grandiose, but a lot of missed opportunities. I would say Gorian Shard, my number one missed opportunity. I would have liked to see more of him because I feel like the pirate arc gave you a lot of great opportunities that to kill the guy off in 2 episodes, to me, was a disappointment. I mean, in terms of villains, that's something we've never seen. And I don't know. And the final thing would be that you put too much into it. I mean, let some of this stuff breathe a little bit. Not everything has to be crammed into it. They tried to layer it, but for me, it just, I don't know. It made it a little bit too heavy.
Yeah. No, I believe me, I get that. Trying to writing my own story and getting ready to start on another 2 parts. Believe me, that's always at the forefront of my mind. How much do I want to put in? How much do I want to put in? And how much do I need to leave out that's just not necessary? So.
Right. It's a balancing act. And then you consider it to yourself too, when you're writing, what do I leave out? I can just put this in the next one. Right. So, but I don't think they really walked that line, completely successfully, if that makes sense. But I feel like overall it was good. Like if I was to give a score, I'd give like a 7 out of 10.
That's a fair score. I would probably be around the same range myself. So, okay, we've talked about the good, we've talked about the Gideon, and we've talked about the Mythosaur. Now let's talk about the ugly. And I did a short on this a few weeks ago when the news came out.
It blew up. It did great, right?
It did really good. Yeah, it did. But that's beside the point. As we've touched upon already, They've got 3 new films that are going to be coming out over the next few years. One is a film about the dawn of the Jedi, directed by James Mangold, and I'm like, yes, please! Yes, please do it! This is something I've always wanted to see on film. Do this, yes. The next one is kind of a cinematic event for all of Dave Filoni's projects, the Mandalorian, Ahsoka, and so on. And I'm like, okay, yeah, cool. I'll go see this, absolutely. And then they announced the Rey movie. And I'm like, what in the name of a Wampa's asshole are you all thinking?
Oh, God.
Why a Rey movie? Why a movie about one of the most disliked characters, not actresses, because Daisy Ridley can act when she's given good material.
Supposedly.
But why in the hell? Why in the name of Palpatine's scrotum are you doing a Rey movie? Why? You have taken a character that the majority, and I mean the majority of the Star Wars fan base, either dislikes or outright hates. You are taking a character who was so poorly written, so poorly directed, so poorly crafted, and so poorly paid off that no one outside of a minority within the Star Wars fan base has any invested interest in. Then you bring on a director who has next to no experience except for a handful of indie films and a couple of episodes of Miss Marvel, which, don't get me wrong, I loved Miss Marvel. Really great show. Really entertaining. Great story, great tie-in to the broader MCU. I loved it.
Same.
But why in the world would you all think that a movie about Rey reestablishing the Jedi Order is a good idea? Because here's the thing, and if you think I'm ranting now, hold on to your asses. Somebody else in the Star Wars universe already tried to reestablish the Jedi Order. Once in the old EU, once in the new EU. Guess who it was? Luke Big Balls Skywalker.
I don't even know about that because they turned him into an attempted murderer. Isn't there?
No, Zach, hold up. I'm talking about the old expanded universe. I'm not talking about this other crap or anything that ties into the sequel trilogy.
Well, I'm sure you've seen this, right? People on Twitter are trying to now rehabilitate what they did, right? You've seen this shit, right?
Yes, I have. But here, Zach, let me flesh this out for you a little bit. Yeah. There was a long series of books called The New Jedi Order and Trials of the Jedi and Apprentices of the Force, where Luke
and the games.
After the events of the original trilogy goes off and rebuilds and establishes his own version of the Jedi Order.
Yeah.
Now,
let me throw in real quick. Jedi Academy, another great example of Luke.
Yes, Jedi Academy as well. Yes. That story has already been done and done better. So why in the hell are you taking a story that's already been done, latched on, and attaching it to a character that practically nobody has any vested interest in whatsoever, and then attaching a director who has virtually no experience in a big budget franchise like Star Wars? Is Disney just looking for an instantaneous tax write-off? Because more than likely this movie will, if this movie sees the light of day, it is going to tank faster than, pardon me for, I don't want to sound insensitive, but that movie is going to tank faster than the freaking Titanic when it hit the iceberg. Now, I know that's if it even actually comes out. If it even freaking comes out. I don't see how this movie is going to get off the ground considering how much it's got against it. Now, I know there are people who like Rey. I am married to one of them. I love my wife dearly. But this is always a sticking point between the two of us. But all the same, I love my wife and I will not demean her or berate her for her opinion. And I will not do the same for others. I'm not pointing the finger at the fans. I'm pointing the finger at the executives and the geniuses running Lucasfilm. This is one time I will come out and say this. I'm looking at you, Kathleen Kennedy. What the hell are you thinking? Are you trying to lose the company more money?
No, she's trying to. She's trying to create a cultural effect and broaden.
It's not
the sensibilities of the American public, so that and ingratiate new concepts of equal rights.
Okay, I've ranted enough for a few minutes. Zach and George, I'm gonna let you have the floor. What are your thoughts on this? So I'm gonna mute.
Go ahead. You want to go first?
Oh boy. I mean, I agree with you on the James Mangold. I think that is a great choice, and you know what? I think that should have been the direction they should be going. Like before Phantom Menace, like the early days and all that. I think that would have been a great idea for a franchise, for like a new trilogy of some sorts. The Dave Filoni stuff, I think like that would be a good way to end this stuff because obviously this stuff's not going to last forever. Like, how much longer is Pedro Pascal going to be interested in playing the Mandalorian? How far can you go with Ahsoka and all that? And I like Rosario Dawson as Ahsoka. I grew up on the Clone Wars, so yeah, I'm a Dave Filoni fan. I do have a bias towards Filoni. This move kind of puzzles me with the Rey film because even though it's going to be 4 years since Rise of Skywalker, the sequel trilogy is still fresh in everyone's mind. Like, first of all, they want this to take place like 10, 15 years after Rise of Skywalker. That, like, how are you going to make that work? Because I think this film, I'm trying to look it up right now. I think it's supposed to come out in 2025. I'm not too sure.
Oh.
But it's like, that's also not a good year to come out because there's so many other projects that's probably going to be a hell of a lot better than that film. Like 2025, as long as it doesn't get delayed, you got Kang Dynasty, you got James Gunn's Superman film, you got the Batman Part 2 from Matt Reeves. You probably got other like Marvel movies coming out. I don't know what else, but like there's just a lot more that I think people are going to be more excited for in 2025, and I think Star Wars is going to get overshadowed by it.
Yeah.
And I know it's coming out like December night. It's coming out in December because I think that's like the trend they're going to go with.
Oh, isn't that annoying? It's like every Christmas. It's like, come on, man.
But it's just, I don't think this is the direction to go. I have nothing against it, Daisy Ridley. It's just Rey feels like one of the most disappointing characters in the history of characters. Because you start her off as like this mysterious character that's like, where'd she come from? What's her origin? And then it's like you kind of realize based on how Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker turned out, they really didn't have a plan for her origin in Force Awakens. Because when Rian Johnson came in, Rian Johnson basically didn't follow the plan and then J.J. Abrams had to basically play damage control and like change the plan again. So it's like they never really had an idea of what to do with this character, and that's kind of frustrating that you didn't lay out this character so well, because what could have been an interesting character, you turned into one of the most disappointing characters. And it's like out of nowhere they had her become like they made her a Palpatine. Like where where was the logic in doing that? But then again, what logic did you have in bringing Palpatine back when he didn't need to be brought back?
Yeah, well, I mean, the Ray Palpatine thing is totally ridiculous. I mean, wow. I mean, to have a Palpatine rebuilding the Jedi Order is really a hard pill to swallow. It just doesn't add up. You know, it's like, I mean, can I throw out the H word? So it would be like H rebuilding the Jewish community. It's like it doesn't work. It doesn't work. So I don't know. Yeah, I think the superhero thing has been bled dry, and I think Star Wars has gotten kind of lumped into that now, where it's less of a science fiction story and more of your standard kind of superhero boilerplate Avengers type thing. So, I think these properties are going to go the way of the Western, and I actually am looking forward to that, where we can once again start to see innovation, in movie theaters and not the same old dumb bullshit, which is what a lot of this stuff has become. I mean, let's be honest. Ant-Man and the Wasp, who really gives a fuck? These properties have been bled dry. We've been here for like 15 years. I'm over it. To be totally honest, I'm over it, and it gets taxing. So if you're going to come out with Star Wars or Marvel or DC, it better be good. It better be good. I mean, the bar has never been higher than it is right now. We've been there, we've done that. Infinity War was a groundbreaking movie, but we've been there, done that. You've got The Force Awakens, had a great opportunity, totally squandered. So I feel like that's where we're at. I'm not sure that this stuff will continue forever, and I think the properties that play it, more carefully than others, are going to be the ones to survive.
And, I have asked myself a question. I'm in my mid-40s now. And this is something that's been in the back of my mind. I'm not going to lie. How much longer am I going to stay on the MCU train? I think I'm going to see the multiverse saga through. And then that might be it for me.
Yeah.
Because we got the Infinity Saga, loved it to death. I have enjoyed the multiverse saga thus far. But after that, I think I might just take my toys and go home. Because Zach, you bring up a very valid point, and George, let me paint a very broad picture for you. Because Zach knows about this, you don't so much. I wrote a very long but thorough and I hope entertaining fan fiction, which is going to be turned into a radio drama once the missus finishes editing it. She's been dealing with some health issues. She's been dealing with some mental issues, so she's kind of had to kind of sideline that, but she's getting her feet back underneath her. I did, to the best of my ability and my creativity, to create a backstory for Rey that makes sense. I won't spoil it all here, but I will say this. I think in the end, my payoff, and yeah, I'll say this. I'll swing for the fences. My payoff was better than Johnson's and Abrams' payoff combined. And I'm not even a professional writer. Got a couple of story advisor credits, thanks to my friend over here, Mr. Larry. got my story and 2 more that'll be coming up in the next year or so. But I just I have to, Zach, I have to agree with you. I mean, I will always love Star Wars. It will always be a part of my life. But I have to ask myself, what else is out there that is worthy of my attention?
A lot
And
right
yeah,
now.
and there is. Yes, and there is a lot out there that is worthy of my attention.
Yes, I mean, well, you've got the Sebastian Stan new show on Amazon. Have you seen the trailer? A lot of
I
great shit
haven't.
coming. A lot of fucking great shit. The Consultant on Amazon.
Mhm.
Amazon's putting out some good shit right now. You've got Barry. You've got Succession. I mean, I've been spoiled. Literally, I've been spoiled with the quality of the TV shows
Yeah,
out there. So when you watch something that's a fucking Emmy-winning show and you go over to The Mandalorian, it is a little difficult.
it is. I'll agree. I mean, I'm even, I'm for those of you who don't know, and I've mentioned this, I'm taking the channel in a new direction. I am steering away from the broader pulp culture landscape and I'm focusing solely on film and streaming series and old television series. Obviously, I just wrapped up Babylon 5. Next series is going to be Buffy the Vampire Slayer. I've already got a couple people who said they want to be on the panel for that. I'll probably do Angel and everything, but I've done my ultra retro reviews, which I've enjoyed. I'm going to be doing more of those. I'm going to be expanding on that. But a time is going to come when I am going to say, okay, it's time to take my toys and go home for both Marvel and Star Wars.
Yeah.
That
Well,
doesn't mean I'll hate it.
I've already
But
got my foot in that door,
but it
man.
just means
I'm already there. I'm already there. I mean, it's just getting hard. You've got to produce something of quality. Fallen
and I
Order
agree.
is the one thing, the one little light in the tunnel for me where it's like, God damn, that was really, really well done. Beautifully done. Fallen Order was such a good. I haven't played the new one yet, but
It's exclusive for PS5 or PC.
What?
Yep.
Those motherfuckers. I've got an Xbox.
I
Really?
hate Xbox. I will never own another Xbox unless it's a Gen 1.
They did an exclusive? Oh no. What
but
the
they're
fuck?
not, but here's the thing, they're not even doing it for PS4. It's just going to be for PS5.
Oh my god. Those greedy
gonna,
pigs.
But they're smart, greedy pigs. Go ahead, George. You were saying something?
I will say, like, I'm like, I'm not off the Marvel train yet, but it's like there's been a drop in Marvel that I've even noticed, and I'm only 26. I'm a lot younger. I've grown up on the MCU, but I've even noticed the drop. It was like, to me, there's only been like 2 MCU films that have come out since Endgame that I would say were great movies. No Way Home and Shang-Chi to me were the 2 that stood out to me since post Endgame. And I'm hearing like a lot of these talks of superhero fatigue, and I've even had these talks with a couple of other YouTubers about it. And to me, at this point, we expect something better. We want something that's unique. And I think that's why I loved No Way Home and the Batman, because it felt like, even though we've seen these characters so many times, they were able to take
They brought something different.
Yeah, and it's like the problem I sometimes have with the MCU, as much as I love it, is it does come across as cookie cutter.
It does.
And you got to do something different. And I'm hoping Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3 does something different. From what I'm hearing, like it's definitely one of, from what it sounds like so far, one of the better post Endgame films. So that sounds promising.
Yeah.
And obviously, then you got like Across the Spider-Verse, which isn't Marvel Studios. It's Sony. It's animated, but you know what? Like, to me, that's the most exciting film, comic book movie coming out this year. And I'm looking at next year for Marvel. And to me, the only MCU movie that I'm really excited for is Deadpool 3.
Oh yeah, definitely. I'm actually
And
gonna. Go ahead, George. Sorry.
the film that I'm actually the most excited for next year, and I'm not, and again, I'm not saying it may end up not even being that great of a movie. It's Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, because to me, Planet of the Apes, at least like the recent ones, not just the ones Matt Reeves directed, but also Rise, it just felt so unique, those films, looking back, because I've been
Yes.
rewatching them.
Mhm.
And that's something I'm looking forward to doing actually next year, by the way, reviewing those Planet of the Apes films before
Mhm.
Kingdom comes, because I like to review certain movies before the new one comes out. And it's
Yeah.
like, I'm excited to see what they do with Kingdom. And it could easily not be as good as those other movies. It may not even be a good movie, but that's the one that I'm the most curious about out of
Mhm.
all the projects that are coming out next year. And it's like, I just got done with a March where like a bunch of movies came out, and it was like some of those movies for me, like John Wick Chapter 4,
Oh,
Creed 3, even Scream 6, I was like, this is better than the comic book movies that have come out this year so far.
well, John Wick, you can't go wrong. We've got the not to cut you off, so please continue. But we've got the new Sisu movie, which is the same guys, but you've got John Wick killing Nazis, pretty much. A John Wick story about an old soldier blowing people up with grenades and MP40s. How could you go wrong with that?
Yeah, but it's like, and again, like later this year, like Dune Part 2's
Have
coming
you
out.
seen Nobody?
Oh,
Have you seen
I gotta
Nobody?
see, Nobody.
Oh, goddamn! That was one of my favorite fucking movies. Talking about Christopher Lloyd plays Bob Odenkirk's dad in that. Okay, that Chris Lloyd was fucking phenomenal in that. Anyway,
it was.
But
Go ahead,
like, yeah,
George.
I've been expanding my horizon of films as well. I've been trying different stuff, like talking about different movies, and believe it or not, like those movies actually are getting more views than some of my superhero stuff.
yeah. Well,
So it's
those.
like,
The thing is, the market is cornered. Like on YouTube, you can't talk about that shit because you've got 5,000 people doing it, and you've got
Yep.
Star Wars Theory or whoever is
Hmm.
taking the entire fucking market. You've got like five guys.
Yeah. Pretty much.
like
But you
one
know
of my
what?
most watched reviews like a few months ago was Dogma, the Kevin Smith film,
Same here.
because
Yeah.
I found it, and I was like, because I watched it a few years ago in like crappy quality on YouTube. I was like, but so like kind of it took me out of the film because it's like I wasn't getting a good experience. I
Hmm.
found a copy on Amazon that was $20, a rarity. I
Not bad.
bought it and I watched it. I was like, this is like a phenomenal film, and it was like my second favorite Kevin Smith film now. And
Yeah.
like I did a
Same.
review on it, and my other Kevin Smith movie reviews didn't get as much attention, but this one, like compared to what I usually get, was getting attention.
The thing is, George, as a YouTuber myself, as I said, I'm expanding my horizons in terms of what I'm wanting to do with the channel. I've really enjoyed, you, Zach, other people, and everything. I've enjoyed the discussions I've had. I've enjoyed our discussion tonight, but the movies and everything, I'm digging into the '90s in a very big way. I've got a double feature review I'm going to be doing of Enemy of the State,
Oh my
and
god!
I haven't forgotten. I have not forgotten.
I could not be more excited for
Enemy of the
anything
State
you've.
Enemy of the State and Crimson Tide. I've
Oh
still got.
my god!
I found a copy of Enemy of the State. I've still got to get Crimson Tide. I haven't
I
found it yet,
cannot
but I
fucking
will.
wait.
But I'm doing
I'm
that.
dying. I'm dying to do
I
that
know you
stream.
are. Actually, next month and everything, because this is another. Well, Zach, you know Ferris. I had posted a
Yeah.
short and everything, and he responded to it and everything. It was my top 5 favorite movies of 1989. I included Batman '89 in that, and he's like, "Hey,
Oh,
can we do
so good.
Batman and Batman Returns?" I was like,
Oh,
"I'm
Oh,
like, yeah." I was like, "Dude, we'll do Batman and Batman Returns."
I
I
was
would
just
love
That,
that.
I was just watching like yesterday or the day before, the making of that movie. Unfucking believable. They somehow convinced Nicholson to sit down and do an interview for that in the documentary. He's never given a fucking interview. It was like outstanding.
I think.
Let me give you one. let me give you one line from it.
Sure,
so
go ahead.
They were talking about how Tim Burton convinced Nicholson to join the cast, and Nicholson said, "Okay, if we're going to talk about this, you've got to come up and meet me on my ranch, and Tim Burton and I are going to go horseback riding." And Tim Burton doesn't ride a horse.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
So it was killing me. And you've got one of the producers who was there retelling the story, and he goes, "It looked like Tim Burton had found God on that horse."
Yeah. Okay, then.
Unbelievable. What a great fun. It's on YouTube, guys, if you want to check it out. Really phenomenal.
Definitely. But, movies is the one thing that connects us in a way that very few things can. Because, growing up as a kid, it was either me and mom and grandmother when grandmother could still get out and get around. We were at least either 2, maybe 3 times a month we'd be at the movies. And then after my grandmother passed and everything, my uncle and everything, who was also passed and everything, he passed last year, unfortunately. He gave a good piece of advice to me and my mom. I appreciate it. Thank you, Zach. He gave a good piece of advice to me and mom after grandmother was gone. He's like, you all need to get out of the house. You all need to disconnect and you need to do something fun together. And we, at least when we could afford it, at least maybe once or twice a month, we go to the movies. The first movie we went and saw right after grandmother's passing was, and this has cemented this movie, not to mention it's just, in my opinion, a great movie, Batman Forever. I love Batman Forever. Absolutely. We'll always love Batman Forever. I know it's not perfect. And yes, while I'm not going to be part of the hashtag campaign, I would love to see the Schumacher cut. Yes, Zach, I know you have your issues with Schumacher. I understand it and I respect it. But personally,
you could literally, let me just say this, not to cut you off, but you could torture me to death with that film.
But I never would. Because you're my friend, and I wouldn't do that to a friend. But personally, I love Batman Forever. For me, I don't see the flaws, and I don't know. Maybe it's just because of the emotional connection I have to it, or maybe because, in my opinion, it is as good as I think it is, and a lot of other people think it is. But I will say emphatically, Batman and Robin is whereas Batman Forever is torture for you, Zach, Batman and Robin is torture for me.
To me, they're two pieces of the same nightmare. It's like
But that's the really great thing about film.
Can I tell you this? I hated it as a kid.
Fair enough.
So there you go. When I was younger, I hated it. I've always hated it.
As a teenager, I loved it. But film is the one thing that can connect people on a level that very few things can. Where we might be divided on politics, where we might be divided on religion, movies is the one thing that everybody can agree on. And the movies I've picked for the next several months going into the end of this year, I'm already planning on seeing Dune Part 2 because, Dune Part 1 blew me away.
Yes.
He's so good. Villeneuve is so fucking good.
He damn right. I am going to go see Across the Spider-Verse because I love the first one. Never saw it in theaters, but I got it on Blu-ray, and I'm like, I wish I had seen this on big screen.
That's a regret that I had because when I was seeing those trailers, I was like, because I didn't trust Sony. I was like, hallelujah, when Marvel got the rights to Spider-Man back because Amazing Spider-Man 2 left a sour taste in my mouth.
Yeah.
I don't blame
But then
you.
like I bought the movie on DVD. It was like actually like the week before Endgame came out, and I was like, I gotta watch this movie. And I was like, this is phenomenal.
Zach, have you ever seen Into the Spider-Verse?
Yeah, I have.
What
It
did
was
you
okay.
did you
I kind of thought it was okay. I didn't dislike it, but I don't
is
know.
it the is it the question? Is it the animation that didn't quite G with you, or was it something else?
I don't know. I thought it was okay. I didn't hate it. I would say mostly positive, right? I don't know.
Are you gonna
I
go? Are
really
you gonna go? Are you gonna go see the sequel? That's the question.
well. I'm at the level I'll steal it illegally on the internet.
My
You
goodness.
thief!
Um,
Those
I
people
will.
pour their passion and their time and their energy, and you're gonna go steal it like a thief, like
Well,
Ray.
not
Do you want to be
well.
like Ray? Do you want to be like Ray, who stole a family's name that she has no right to?
I steal
Do you
so
really
much
want? Do you
in
want
terms
to
of
be like Ray?
entertainment. Uh,
Do you want? Do
absolutely.
you want to be like Ray? I'm asking you,
Listen,
Zach. Do you want? Do you really want to be like Ray? Ray
I, I
Palpatine?
I count my little pennies and dollars. I find it to be important. There you go. I'll take my little $12. I'll keep it. Okay. There you go.
I'm giving you. I'm obviously giving you a hard time.
Well, listen, I've
I'm
recommended it on your show multiple times. Guys, go to solarmovie.com and you can get
no,
all the
no,
shit
yeah,
you could
yeah,
imagine for
yeah,
Oh
free.
my goodness.
Mm.
You know, I'll never forget the time back when I was in college and I used to work at like my college gym and like one of my coworkers recommended movie 123. I had
Oh,
no
it's
idea it was a
awesome.
pirate site. And I was
I
like,
will never. I will never. I mean, never. This is one line I will. Well, one of many lines I will never cross. I will never pirate a movie. Never.
Well, your pocketbook has a problem with that. I'm so far down that
But that's
route
big. But
where
Zach, here's the thing.
I
I'm
have
more so.
pirated shit into DVDs and printed out covers.
I don't
And
want to know. Do not implicate me in anything you do. You keep it to yourself.
oof.
I don't think I can get in trouble for that.
Well, either way,
Suppose
I don't want. I
let
don't
me
want to
throw.
know.
Well, wait a minute. Supposedly, I've done that.
Whatever.
Supposedly.
But you know what? Here's the thing. Here's the difference between you and me, Zach. And I'm not saying this to be mean, per se. I'm a little more selective about the movies I buy, and I'm a lot more shrewd about where I get my movies because I don't know if you have these places where you live out there on the West Coast. We have secondhand movie stores where you can get movies on the cheap for like $2 or $3 a pop.
They killed
And
them
if you're
all.
lucky,
We used to have them. They killed them all. I used to get all my DVD. I got
not around here.
I can see
Not
it from
here.
here.
I
I got
live by my workplace, my school that I work at, like 17-minute walk to a old DVD store to a DVD store that sells like secondhand DVDs. Last time I went there, I bought Silence of the Lambs, The Warriors,
Ooh.
and A Few Good Men.
For how much?
I think it was like each one was like $3.99.
Oh, that's a little
That's-
pricey.
But you know what?
That's a
they're
little
in good,
pricey.
they're in
Yes.
good quality. Listen,
Are
I
you
bought
nuts?
a lot of DVDs there that were in good quality. The discs were in good quality. Most of the boxes like looked pretty good. We got like the occasional smudge on it, but like the DVD quality is still like on the box, the smudge, but like the discs were well taken care of.
Well, we had those out here, but you could go in the dollar bin and find like There Will Be Blood or fucking Kill Bill. You can find the best shit in the dollar bin out here. So that's my price point. I'm not paying $5 for a fucking DVD.
The place where we go, and there's a couple places, but the main place we go, they sell secondhand movies both on DVD and Blu-ray, and occasionally they'll have some 4Ks in there too. They do video games going all the way back to the PS1. They do Funkos, which I think is kind of cool. I love my Funkos. Love my Funko Pops. Yes.
Well, you know what's funny? My dad's birthday is tomorrow, and I went to the toy store to get him something today. and I
Please tell
picked
me you
them
got
up.
something good.
Well, you tell me. I got them. I would show it. I don't have my webcam over here.
Just tell me. Just tell us.
I got them a Moff Gideon, but it's in the retro, like original Star Wars
Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay,
Kenner
cool.
style.
No, I got you. Yeah, the 3 3/4 scale. Yeah, cool. Hey,
So it's got the little retro logo on it. It's like, so that's what I got them.
You're a good son.
I got to bring up this like actual good deal that I got at that video store. So
let's hear it.
So I love Harry Potter, and I have, and before I bought it, I had Goblet of Fire to Deathly Hallows Part 2 on DVD. I didn't have the first 3 because I used to share movies with my sister, and we also had those movies on VHS. So like I wanted to get the DVD collection out of the way because she had the DVD versions of those movies. I saw Prisoner of Azkaban. Now it was like a copy that you can buy for $20 at Best Buy, but the store was selling it with it like still in the wrapping for $4.99. So I was like, I'm gonna buy this movie that is usually $20 for $5. It was a pretty good deal.
Yeah,
I don't know, like I don't know like why someone would just sell like a fresh copy without ever opening it, and it would sell for only $5. But you know what? I wasn't complaining.
I wouldn't either. I mean, I'll eventually, because it's the only Star Wars movie I don't own and everything. I'll probably pick up I'll see if I can pick up a copy of Solo. I am gonna do, like I said, I'm gonna do a review of it because I enjoyed it. I would still like to see the Lord and Miller version. I know people said that they left some of the scenes that they had shot in and everything for their version. I would have loved to have seen Lord Miller's. I'm not saying Ron Howard didn't do a good job. He did a good job and everything. But I'm gonna definitely pick up Solo secondhand and everything because it's just easier that way. I can go to. I've still got to find a copy. I've still got to find a copy of Crimson Tide, and I still got to find a copy of Virtuosity for the other reviews.
I think you could get Crimson Tide on YouTube probably. Have you looked?
I'd like to have a physical copy. If I have to go digital, I will. But I'd like to have a physical copy, even if it's DVD.
Oh, it is so good. Crimson Tide.
You don't have to, Zach. You don't have to tell me. I know. Me and Mother and Ambassador went and saw it when it came out in theaters. I mean, it's got Gene Hackman and it's got Gene Hackman and Denzel Washington. You've got Viggo Mortensen before he was Aragorn. You've got George Dazinga. Oh, for heaven's sakes!
Gandolfini too.
Yeah, James Gandolfini. Yeah, he was in that.
Oh,
also, we won't ruin the review, but you also got a cameo appearance by an old actor of old Hollywood, Jason Robards. Everything. He had one scene at the end of the movie. He was playing.
The judge.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, he's so good. Well, he's an enemy of the state too, dude.
Yes, he is. Fun. That's a fun little thing because
these films are connected, man. I'm telling you.
Well, yeah, because you've got Gene Hackman. You've got Gene Hackman in both of them. You got Jason Robards in both of them. But yeah, those are going to be. I've got some good stuff coming up and everything. I still got to do my disaster movies of the '90s series. That's going to be there's going to be a couple of me and the missus are going to do it together because.
Deep Impact, is that on your list?
Well, here's the thing, Zach. I don't know if I don't know if I ever told you these, but I paired them together. I'm going to do Armageddon with Deep Impact. We're going to do Twister on its own. We're going to do Volcano and Dante's Peak together.
With Schwarzenegger, right?
Schwarzenegger isn't it? Schwarzenegger isn't in any of those.
Okay. What the fuck was his disaster movie? Anyway. He had one. I can't remember. I thought it was Dante's Peak.
Speaking of Schwarzenegger, I recently got off Amazon True Lies on DVD.
Oh, dude. I got to put that on my list. I got to do that movie.
Well, one thing I will, a place I like to get DVDs from, the ones that still sell DVDs is Barnes and Noble. So like anytime I go
Mhm.
into Manhattan, because I do live in the New York City borough, anytime I
Mhm.
travel to Manhattan by one of the Barnes and Nobles in the city, I sometimes get DVDs, and I've gotten Psycho, Rear Window, Clerks,
Ooh,
Batman
nice.
Mask of the Phantasm. I found a copy of that there.
Oh, dude,
Um,
nice.
I miss when my Best Buy used to have those bins that would sell DVDs
Don't
very
get me.
cheaply. I got because
Don't
one
get
time
me
I got
started.
Predator, the original Planet of the Apes, the 1968 film, not the Tim
Oh,
Burton crap from 2001.
right.
Speed,
Yeah.
You maniacs!
I get I always make out pretty good, and one of the things I miss when I used to live in Pennsylvania is Walmart, because Walmart used to have so many things.
Well, they
I
raised their
recently
fucking prices.
I recently went to
Zach,
Walmart
thank
after
Biden.
Christmas.
Everybody has.
I blame you personally, Ambassador, as a former associate.
I didn't even work in that department, so you shut your face. I was over in the lame department where we always sold was meat and vegetables. I didn't get to work in electronics.
If I assume, will you come as a witness?
No, because
They raised the goddamn prices.
don't blame Walmart. Blame the old fogey in the White House.
I just blame you for it, man.
It ain't my fault.
You motherfucker.
I'm not the CEO.
They raised. It used to be
You
cheaper, dude.
flatulent
It used to be $2 for DVD.
George. Okay, this is probably gonna be one of the most rant-filled streams I've done in a while. Back last year, I was looking for a movie, and I searched every place I could think of to find it before I finally gave up. I was like, okay, honey, let's order it off Amazon. I was like, I'm going to try Best Buy because it had been a very long time since I had been in Best Buy.
What is the movie?
I can't remember now, honestly. But I got it either way. Zach, I'm being straight with you. I can't remember. I walked into our Best Buy and I saw the movie display at the front of the store like they used to have. And I walked back. I saw no movie racks at all. And they had Best Buy had always had a very good movie section. Always.
Yeah.
For like $10 though. It fucking sucks.
I remember like
$10 is reasonable, you tightwad.
I'd rather fucking listen.
I don't want to hear about your illegal actions. Don't spill your crap on here.
I remember I used to go to Best Buy to like buy DVDs. I think
you can do better. Please, for the love of God, don't spend that much.
The last time I bought I bought any like physical media at Best Buy was like the entire original Transformers series from like the 80s.
Oh, nice.
I found like
anyway.
I forget how much it was, but I found it at like Best Buy. I was like, I'm buying this because that's hard to find like episodes of that, and I love that cartoon.
Yeah, it is.
My wallet shrivels when I walk into a Best Buy because their prices are so outrageous.
Well, of course, everybody. Zach, how many times do I have to say before it sinks through your moth-thickened head? Prices everywhere have gone up because right now the economy sucks because the government is run by idiots. The companies are having to do what they're having to do to survive.
Yeah, I know, which is why I haven't bought a single DVD in this
Okay,
period.
fine, you haven't. But that's not part of my rant. My rant is this.
Listen, at the end of the day, you're arguing against fiscal responsibility at the individual level. I'm looking after people. I am
responsible. I only buy when I have to or when I want to.
That's why I advocate everybody get their shit for free. I mean, everybody's paying $40 a month. Everybody's got Disney and Netflix and Amazon and Hulu, and it's just it's killing us.
We have one streaming service. Well,
it's killing everybody. We're spending way too much.
Not if you're smart about it. Not if you're smart about it.
We're all getting
That's not
killed
the
by
point. That's not my point. I walked into my Best Buy expecting to be able to pick up the movie that I was looking for at the time. Like I said, I can't remember what it is now.
it. It hinders your story that you
Instead,
don't have a title.
what do I find? Freaking toys.
No, Best Buy sells.
Legos.
Yeah, no,
Lego
Best Buy
sets.
sells toys now. Like, what the heck?
I don't go to Best Buy to buy toys. I can go to a vintage toy store and buy toys if I want to buy toys. I go to Best Buy to buy electronics and to buy movies, but not no more. And I told the missus when I got home, I will never set foot in another Best Buy for the rest of my life. She's like, why? What happened? I was like, they took out their entire movie section and replaced it with nothing but freaking toys. She's like, are you kidding me? I'm like, I wish I was.
And look,
So Best Buy, just like Bud Light screwed up, you screwed up with me. I will never walk into one of your stores ever again or buy anything from you.
The thing is like they don't even sell good toys.
End of rant.
Like
they sell crap.
There's someone that still likes to collect figures every now and then. Like they don't even have anything that's good.
No, they don't. They have a bunch of crap. They have the peg warmers that nobody wants.
I mean, they had like Jar Jar Binks action figures like the one time. No one was buying them.
Oh,
for like their Star Wars section.
Wow,
that's it.
I was like I said. So I was at a vintage toy shop yesterday, getting a thing for my dad, the Gideon toy.
Yeah,
they had so much cool shit in there. They had the Geonosian Arena for $200.
Ooh,
I mean, there's so much cool shit. And you know what? I had that at one time, but I think I still have the box. Maybe I sold it. I can't remember, but I bought it. We used to have a thing out here called the Star Wars store where you could go in there and find a bunch of toys.
I hate you.
Well, they got rid of it. They closed it down a few years ago. I don't know why, but you could go in there and find cool shit.
A little thing called the pandemic. Ring a bell?
Well,
but
I don't know.
Yeah. Here's the thing. I could walk into that vintage toy store. There's actually a couple in my home.
Oh, you know what I saw? Obadiah Stane figure, dude, with the standing behind him. Oh my
goodness!
It was so fucking good.
Obadiah with the Ironmonger
standing behind him, silhouetted behind him in a statue form. It was I couldn't believe it,
dude.
So it was badass. That was the one thing that stood out to me.
We're working on a project here at home. We have what we call our study, yet we don't study in there. It's more of our collections room. The missus got this not too long ago, and I applaud her for it because it was a really cool piece. She has probably her first and only hot toy. And I was like, I can respect it because it's from the Star Wars universe. Obviously everybody knows I love Star Wars. And it's a hot toy of Kylo Ren from The Rise of Skywalker, and the detail. Look, I have my critique and everything, and that's where that stands. But as far as the toy itself goes, the cast of the face is spot on. It looks like Adam Driver. The costuming, the clothing, the accessories, all of it looks just absolutely accurate to the movie. She's like, I know it's not a character you're a big fan of. I was like, hey, I can appreciate it, even if I don't care for the character. It's like when I put out that first short.
That character had total potential.
And in my version, he will meet his potential. Zach, you've read the script.
Right.
At least you better have, or I'm going to kick your ass.
More than once, actually. So there you go.
Well, it's kind of like that first short I ever released. It's called Behold My Stuff. And Zach, you sent me a message, or there was a comment on there. You sent me a DM, and he's like, dude, that's a nice collection, except for Captain Marvel. I'm like,
oh, yeah.
You're judging it on the movie. look at it and appreciate it for the artwork, a piece of artwork that it is, because it was one of those. It's one of those Diamond Select premiere statues.
It's a nice statue. Did you get it discounted? I mean, what the fuck?
Actually, we got it from one of those vintage toy stores that we regularly visit and everything. And
okay, well, did they put a button on it where you press it? It says, my film doesn't need white men to succeed. Does it say? Does it talk?
No, no, it doesn't talk. You ass. I gotta get some new drops because there's a perfect one.
Well, it goes to George's point. It's hard for me to hear George make the point that nostalgia is a franchise killer, and yet hear him at the same time defend all this nonsense bullshit. It's like the Marvel lineup has been horrible, dude. Just throwing that out there. No hate.
I don't think George takes it personally. I certainly don't. I'm just giving you a hard time.
I've been critical of Marvel's lineup.
But it's like I mean, isn't it like a oxymoron though to say that and you're continuing to support the shit they're putting out,
Look, I will go watch a movie and judge it on its own merits. If it stinks, I'll say it stinks. If it's good, I'll say it's good. If it's outstanding, I'll say it's outstanding. I mean, me and the missus, we talked about this just a couple of days ago. I was like, what movies do we want to see this year? For sure, you and me. And she said the two that she wants to see in theater, and I said some of the ones I want to see in theater. The two we want to see together, Guardians and Indiana Jones. Now, as for myself,
that's good, man. I hope it's good.
I am very hesitantly optimistic after what happened with Kingdom of the Crystal Skull. God. But the fact that James Mangold directed this one and the fact that Steven Spielberg gave it a very glowing review, I'm a little more optimistic than I was. But the other one, honestly, the only other one I'm probably going to see in theaters this year is going to be Dune Part 2. Because I'm just going to wait for Mario to come out on home video because I want to see Mario, but I'm not going to go spend the money to see it in theater.
I heard Mario's pretty good.
Yeah, Mario was a lot of people.
It's blowing up at the box office. I think it's past like 700 or 800 million.
George, are you a big Mario guy?
Yeah, I played like a lot of the games. Although honestly, like that's not my favorite. That's not my favorite.
What about Paper Mario? You ever play that?
I've never played Paper Mario.
I played Paper Mario.
It's not my favorite Nintendo franchise. It's my second favorite.
Okay,
fair enough.
I'm a Legend of Zelda guy.
Oh yeah, that's pretty good too.
Well, I don't. They've been talking about them doing. Nintendo's talking about launching, in essence, their own cinematic universe. After we've been sitting here talking,
they could.
They really could. Yeah, if they can do it right, and considering how well Mario has been performing, if they can nail the balance of seriousness and epicness for Zelda,
Smash Bros. The movie.
No, that's too much. No,
I don't think so.
No,
it's not.
No,
done properly. Do it like a Gladiator type film.
Here's the thing with Legend of Zelda. I don't want Illumination to do it. I'd rather see
DreamWorks. Who did Super Mario?
Illumination. But the thing is like Illumination's also done like other anime movies that I'm not exactly crazy about. I feel like Illumination.
What else did they do?
But they've done like Despicable Me.
Oh, I love Despicable Me. I love Despicable Me.
They've also done the Minion movies. I don't care for the Minion movies.
I won't watch those. I'll skip those. But Despicable Me itself, I saw all three. I have the first two. I need to get the last one and everything to complete the set because I really enjoyed Despicable Me. I mean, it was
I like the first two. I
don't like them at all. I watch them. I can feel the cancer spots, growing on my eyes.
Shut up.
They also did the 2018 Grinch film, and all I can say is after watching that, I would a billion times
Jim-
rather watch the Jim Carrey one.
But is it really their fault though? I mean, these are animators, right? So we could probably give them the benefit of the doubt. If you got somebody with a good script, maybe it'll turn out okay.
I just feel like for a Legend of Zelda film, I'd rather see DreamWorks, because I think DreamWorks for animated movies for all ages, like with Shrek, How to Train Your Dragon, Kung Fu Panda, I think they can handle a fantasy action film very
Kung
well.
Fu Panda is so good.
Because
I've
and
only
fantasy,
seen the
like
first
fantasy
one.
action.
The second one is the best.
Yeah, I agree with that.
I've only seen the first one. I think that's a series me and the missus. I'll tell you this. I can't remember. I think George, you brought it up. How to Train Your Dragon. Talk about a grossly underrated series of movies. I mean, so good. I mean, okay, who here didn't cry when Hiccup's father died in the second one?
Myself.
I did.
But I cry like a bitch. Kung Fu Panda 2 every single fucking time.
Oh, man,
I need to watch it. I've never.
George, I cry like a bitch by myself. With other people, I cry like a fucking bitch twice in the movie. I'm not going to give away what 2 moments, but it is just, that is such a fucking badass movie.
It's a phenomenal movie. In
Oh
my
my
opinion,
God.
it's better than the first film.
Yes.
Okay. I'm gonna say this.
2 is that's the Kung Fu Panda Empire Strikes Back. It is so fucking good.
All right, I'm gonna say this. There are only a handful. There are only literally a handful of movies that have ever made me cry. Like literally, bawl my eyes out, cry. Not cry like what you said, Zach.
Yeah,
but
like a bitch.
No. Okay. Like a grown man.
Okay.
Obviously, Jedi. But that's because of Dad.
It does. Yeah, there's 2 moments in that. Yoda's death and Vader at the end.
More so Vader because of what happened.
You already have. Yeah, that's a beautiful scene.
Yeah. This is going to sound weird. At least maybe from y'all's end, but I'll give a little bit of context. Into the Spider-Verse. When Miles is there on the side of the building, getting ready to take his first sleep. And he's got all these voices going through his head. And his mom's line pops up. Our family doesn't run from things. My grandmother, obviously I'm not half black, half Puerto Rican. I'm white, obviously.
Did you just say you're half Puerto Rican?
No, I said I'm not. I said obviously I am not.
All right.
Pull your head out of your ass, Zach. My grandmother said something very similar to me when I was young.
Well, my head is too busy looking for gold up there.
And that is always something that stuck with me. When Miles's mom said that to him, I started bawling out. I'm like, damn this movie. I mean, damn this movie. I mean, I love this movie, but at the same time, damn this movie.
Well, you know what got me? Here's the one that recently killed me was fucking Pinocchio by Del Toro.
Oh, I've heard good things about it. I have not seen it, but I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Oh my God.
Mm-hmm.
The first time I watched Top Gun Maverick, got to me.
The last one, it's also a recent one, it's a couple of years ago. And this one made me ugly cry. Not just cry a little bit like I did with Jedi or with Into the Spider-Verse.
Okay.
It made me outright ugly cry. Was Ghostbusters Afterlife. And even now, talking about it, I'm starting to get a little teary. It's when, at the end, when they're fighting Gozer, and the daughter, or the granddaughter, has got her proton pack, and she's trying like hell to hang on. And you see that hand reach around and help her guide the proton pack, or the proton gun. And it pans up, and it's Egon's ghost. Ball my freaking eyes out from the moment he was on the screen until he vanished.
Yeah, well, he was a great guy. Yeah, they were all great guys. Dan Aykroyd, great guy. Bill Murray, great guy. Harold Ramis, great guy. Um,
Ernie Hudson. Well, hey, then here's the great thing.
He's fantastic too.
Well,
they're
this
actually
other one.
Mm-hmm.
Oh no, you keep going. Then I'll. Yeah, you can go.
Okay.
Then I'll say.
The only thing I was gonna the thing I was gonna say, the next sequel comes out, I think, this year or next.
Yes.
And I am so there for it. So go ahead, George.
This one might be a weird choice. This was one where like I was kind of emotional like the first time I saw it. And it was another more recent one. And this is a weird choice for a film because I never thought it would be like this kind of movie that would get me emotional. And I don't know if you guys saw it, so I don't want to spoil it. Clerks 3.
I haven't seen it. I want to. I want to, though.
The new one?
Got me emotional. Yeah, the new one.
Okay. I haven't seen it either.
Yeah, no, it got me like emotional. I'm not gonna say why because you guys didn't see it, but like that.
Oh, I heard the spoilers. I think I know what you're talking about.
Don't you dare, Zach! I haven't seen it yet.
I don't want to say anything because I don't want to spoil it because I know, Ambassador, you're a big Kevin Smith film fan like I am.
Oh yeah.
So like I don't want to like spoil, and like I know like people were kind of torn on the film, but it was like that's like there were certain scenes in that film that got me emotional. And I'm a young guy, like I'm not even as old as those guys, and it's just like one of those things where you reflect, and it's just like, damn, like I didn't expect a Clerks film to go this hard.
Well, it means something to you, There's something to empathy. That's what connects us all in terms of Ambassador. Gave a great speech about film. It's all about empathy and putting yourself in another person's shoes and point of view. So,
well, and
I get it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and it's yes, part of it is empathy, but sometimes a director or a writer or an actor or actress can give you such a compelling performance or set up such a beautiful shot that it touches you.
Well, quality is rare nowadays. It is. That's even something low key. Even something low key that's good will make it because it's good. It wasn't always like that.
That's true. I'm not gonna say you're wrong because I think the one thing we yearn for as an audience, and I say this collectively, we yearn for something that's going to connect to us on an emotional level. You can have the greatest spectacle in the history of cinema, and that's great. But it's those moments when it goes beyond the spectacle and it connects, or there is no spectacle at all.
Yeah, well, let me add to that a George Lucas quote, which is you're using tools to tell a story, not using not the other way around. You're not out there trying to use tools just to be the centerpiece. There has to be a story behind it.
And and to kind of come back to the original topic of the evening and the stream, I think that's why people were a bit let down by season 3 of Mandalorian. Because that moment at the end of season 2 is still fresh in so many people's minds. You got these characters who are in a corner. And then I think this is it also ties into the sequel trilogy, obviously. Because people, I've commented on the people's tweets on Twitter and everything about Luke Skywalker. I think for such a broad majority of people, we were hurt as a collective, as a collective fandom by what was done to Luke in the sequel trilogy. And to see him in a time period before that, before all that mess, when he was still the hero we remember.
Himself.
Yeah.
Yeah, pretty much.
He was the hero, and that's why you see all those reaction videos and those compilation of reaction videos. And you can go look mine up too. Mine's here on the
I
channel.
didn't know you had one.
Yeah, I did a live watch along. I even watched it.
Okay.
When season 2 came out, it was right. I was working a different job at the time. I was working early morning shift, and I actually had the time. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna sit down. I'm gonna watch this.
The previous job where you were plotting to raise DVD prices.
No. Job before that. This is
Okay.
This is a couple of years ago.
Gotcha.
And I sat there, and I was like, I didn't bawl my eyes out, but I got emotional because I was like, that's an X-wing.
So did I.
And then it clicked in my head, and then I looked a little closer, and as the ship was entering the hangar, I was like, is that an R2 unit? Is that a particular R2 unit? And then then you see a cloaked figure. I'm like, I know that cloak. I know who that is. Holy freaking crap! They did it. And then
Go ahead. Sorry.
And then you see the green lightsaber. I'm like, it's freaking Luke Skywalker.
It's him. What's the name of the actress who plays Bo-Katan?
Katie Sackhoff.
Katie Sackhoff. So when she gave an interview with Dave Filoni talking about how Dave Filoni bullshitted her about who the rescuer was. Have you seen this?
I haven't, but I have heard about it. Okay, a little bit of a sidetrack. Have you heard the recent interview that she gave for another podcast?
Yes.
Where she's talking about Bo, where there's like 70% of people love Bo. There's like 10 or 20% that really dislike Bo, and then there's like 5% that absolutely hated Bo, and then there's like 2% who want me to sit on their face. Yep. I busted out laughing. I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, well, I mean, the only thing is, she got the number a little incorrectly.
Yeah, she did.
I mean, listen, she's attractive. I like her. I think she's talented as well.
She is. She's incredible. I mean, think about what she's done. She did.
But I will say this: she had me with a bad taste in my mouth when she was sitting there on her throne like a bitch. But her character pulled it around. Because I remember you and I had talked about her, and we're like, this bitch is unfit to rule. But she turned the whole thing around. The character did.
Yeah, she did. She really did. But
but did she not grow on you throughout the season? Where you're like, at first you're like, oh,
I liked her in season 1. No, I'll be truthful. I could understand
when she's sitting there by herself at that Mandalorian mansion, whatever that thing is, castle. Yeah. And she's sitting there all pretentious. You were like, I'm not sure about her. Right. There's a sense of distrust. And you're like, well, what is her motivation?
I never distrusted her, but but I could understand where she was coming from because she came back empty-handed when she told everybody she would have the dark saber, and she didn't. And said Din had it. Din
I know,
Djarin had it.
but she gave up. That was the problem.
And can you necessarily blame her?
Yes, because I don't give up. I've never given up. So
but
it's hard for me. I don't know, dude.
Put yourself in her place. Put yourself in her place and ask yourself that question again. Would you still give up?
I would quietly assassinate the new commander, okay? And I would do something about it.
That's you. That's how you approached it. This is how she approached it. This is how they wrote her, because think about it. If she was all plotting and vengeful and stuff at the start of the season, would it have been as good a payoff at the end? When she's standing there next to the armorer with all those other Mandalorians at the Great Forge,
you can go and look at the tape. I put out the video. You and I, we were both in agreement that she was unfit at that time during that episode.
At that time, yeah, she was.
But what I'm saying basically is that her character had a great arc in the season where we went.
Yes.
You and I personally went from like, this bitch is not fit to like, okay, I can get behind it.
Yeah, but here's the thing. We now have full context of the season. Now, I'll say this, when she's introduced in season 2, I was like, dang, this is a girl that can kick some ass and is somebody who can lead.
I don't like her talking shit. She's been a shit talker the whole time. It's like, your cult, like that's the first time we see her. Your cult, you mean? It's like, okay, well, I mean, you may disagree. That doesn't make us a cult, I don't know.
But here's the thing. Look at some of the dialogue she talks about, and George, by all means, chime in here. When she's the lone wolf, she's on her own, and she's trying to find another pack to kind of integrate into. And
well, to me, it looked like she was sitting on her fucking ass.
I'm talking about after that fact, Zach, not at that particular moment. But as the season progressed, once she finally realizes everything that the Mandalorians that are part of, that Din Djarin's part of, aren't as bad as they come off to be. When she finally realizes that they do have a code of honor, that they are respectable, they're just a little off kilter because they won't ever take their helmets off. But that's their belief. That's how they believe they're adhering to the Mandalorian code.
That is true.
So, just like with her bunch, they believe in a certain way that they're adhering to the code, but one of their things is they can take off their helmets. Now, I'm going to say this. And this is a term that I have kind of gotten fed up with, but I'm not going to necessarily attack anybody for it. Dave Filoni was hired by George Lucas for a particular task. And that task has since evolved after George Lucas sold Lucasfilm off to Disney.
Yep.
I'm sorry, but I don't see what Dave Filoni has crafted and built from the ground up, but also used part of already existing lore as baloney. Because I have heard on streams, I've heard in videos the term Filoni baloney. If you think you can do better than Dave Filoni, then by all means, you go off, you start your own LLC, you start your own company, and you start doing the same thing that he's done.
Well,
yeah.
I would have one criticism of him. He doesn't know how to kill. He doesn't know how to kill off characters, and I think that's been shown time and time
that
again.
I think is a fair criticism.
That's my.
I think is a fair criticism.
I like him. The only thing is he doesn't know how to kill somebody off. Take a look at the Inquisitor from Tales of the Sith, Tales of the Jedi. He killed him off immediately, right? And like that, too quick. Same with Darth Maul. If he could take his time and structure an outro for a character, I would be fully on board. But small critique.
Yeah, and that's not unfair. But to say that everything he has done is completely without merit and is completely and not in keeping with canon is not baloney.
It's been mostly pretty good. It's been,
It
I would say,
has.
the forefront of quality in terms of the new Star Wars stuff.
I mean,
He's pretty much the new arbiter of the
in a
franchise.
lot of ways, yes, he is. And yeah, he wrote an out for the character he created. He wrote an out for Ahsoka so that she could continue on. Now, is she eventually gonna die? Yeah, she is. She actually did die in my fan fiction. I gave her a real badass death. I gave her a good. I gave her a good end to her life. I gave her a death that had weight to it. She sacrificed her life to save others, which is what Ahsoka would have done, and which is what
that
Ahsoka.
is true. That is true to
So,
the character.
Yeah. I mean, in my story, she is a mentor. She is a teacher. She is a fighter. I mean, she's a little up in years, yeah, but she can. But thanks to the Force, she can still participate in active combat and not look foolish. She's got a few more wrinkles in her tentacles and everything, or the mantra and the mantra. She's got a few more lines on her face. She's got a few more smile lines, and so on. But you know what? In my story, Ahsoka can still kick some ass, and she can still train Finn and Rey in how to properly use a lightsaber and how to properly use the Force. That for me was the biggest sticking point of anything with the sequel trilogy. A lack of training for anybody that had the Force.
Let's get George in on this.
Well, George, do you want to hear the pitch? Would you
sure.
Would you be
Well,
interested?
let's hear his thoughts on the recent 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, George, please.
I mean, there's I feel like you guys kind of summarized it perfectly. I mean, as far as like Dave Filoni goes, he does have his favorite characters. I will admit that. I mean, Ahsoka's his baby. Like
Yes.
that's always gonna be his prized character.
Yeah, it's kind of like Luke for George Lucas.
And honestly, like I honestly can't see any other. I can't see Filoni feeling comfortable lending Ahsoka to someone else that he doesn't trust.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's the thing. Like he is very protective of that character.
Well, I think the other thing you guys would probably agree is I would make him CEO of Lucasfilm today, man. I mean, I think he's proven himself as the best hope they have.
Yeah. I'm inclined to agree. And I do want to address Valhalla Erickson's comment here. Was there any explanation why she wasn't there during the original trilogy? If I remember correctly, Mr. Erickson, it was because she was still stuck in the world between worlds, I believe. I could be wrong, but I think that's why she wasn't present, was because she was stuck in the world between worlds. And she didn't get out until after the events of the original trilogy, which is where the Ahsoka series picks up, is in between Return of the Jedi and obviously The Force Awakens. So,
I think it could be simpler. I mean, if that's the answer, that's fine. But the other thing is, you've got such a big, vast universe of characters. Why does everybody have to be involved in the big events? I don't think they really have to be. You know what I mean? I like Ahsoka. She's not a Jedi. She could be off doing her own thing with her own agenda. So I would say that would be my answer to it.
Well, here's the other thing too. The thing you have to remember: she's still trying to hunt down Thrawn and Ezra Bridger because she wants to bring Ezra home. So that could be a very logical explanation too as to where she was during the events of the original trilogy.
Well, yeah, she's got her own shit going on. The Death Star 2 is not everybody's problem at the moment, at that point in time.
No.
So nobody even knew it existed. There's another answer. It was it was a functional work in progress. It had not fully been exposed at that point in time.
Well, remember too, anything in terms of continuity, the Rebels didn't discover the Death Star until the events before Jedi, and that's actually told in a side story called Shadows of the Empire, which was part of the old expanded universe. They did a comic book for it. They did a regular book for it. They did an audio book for it. They did a toy line. They did everything but a movie. Now, I have heard that there have been some people that have been working on
they did some animation.
Yeah, there are people that are doing like fan fiction animation series of Shadows of the Empire. I actually remember and everything because I had the audiobook of it and everything, and I had the several of the figures because, well, they looked cool. They introduced a couple of interesting characters. Well, a interesting character. He was a crime lord by the name of Prince Shizor, and he is the alien race called the Fleet.
Dude, I have the toy of him.
Oh, do you? Okay,
I do.
Well, did you, Zach? Did you ever read the book, or did you read the comic series or anything of it?
No, but I have the toy.
You should listen to the audiobook at least. It's actually pretty good.
Is it free?
I don't know. Go look it up for yourself. You're a grown man.
If it's free, I'll check it out.
Even if it isn't free, you should check it out. But it's actually a really cool story. It bridges the gap between Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi. They're trying to hunt down Han Solo, trying to hunt down Boba Fett before the game too.
Hey, can you play for us the Palpatine versus Luke animation? There's like a 40-second clip of that. I was trying to look it up, but my shit is fried for some reason tonight. I don't know what the problem is. I'm still.
You might need to check and see if you can.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, your computer might have an update. I know mine did earlier this week.
Oh, okay. So, maybe that's what it is.
Yeah,
it's supposed to be a badass PC. I mean, I got a PC for streaming. It's an Alienware.
Okay. Let's see. Okay.
Palpatine versus Luke animation.
Ambassador, I'm gonna have to dip. I gotta get to bed soon.
Yeah, we're probably gonna wrap up here soon in just a minute. So that's fine. Fine, George.
But thank you for having me on. It was a great talk about Star Wars and all other things as well, about DVDs.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yep. And hey, George, you're always welcome. So, and we'll talk to you later, buddy. You have a good night. Get you some rest.
Good to see you, man.
Yeah, good to see you too, Zach. Take care, guys.
So, all right, I think I found this. Hopefully, it's the right thing. You said it's like 20. What's it? What, like 29 seconds?
Yep. There you go.
Okay. It's called All One Nerd. All right, hang on, let me.
It's got a few million views, right?
Let's see. It's got almost 195K. So that's pretty good.
We'll see. We'll see if I think it is.
Is the channel called All One Nerd?
My shit's fried, so I don't know.
Okay, well,
I tried to find it before I brought it up, but I couldn't find it. Didn't work.
That's all right. Okay, let me do the little present thingy. Share screen. Share. Dark Luke Skywalker versus Darth Sidious Reborn.
Let's see it.
That sound about right?
Yep, it does.
Not bad.
I think that was the right one. I didn't even see it because I still got George on my screen here. I mean, I told you I'm frozen. I don't know what's going on with my thing here, but it sounded correct. You had Luke in the dark colors. You had the purple lightsaber, correct?
Yeah. Yeah. So
there
it's
you
very
go.
cool looking.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyway, well, guys and gals, everybody else out there, I think we're going to call it a night, but I will keep everyone abreast updated of my next live stream, which will probably be probably next week some point. So I'll put out something on here, obviously, and on my my Instagram and my Twitter. So, but I want to thank Mr. Leary, Zach, and I want to thank George for joining me this evening. As always, smash that like button, share this out with all your friends. Have a great night. As always, stay ambassadorial, be kind, be respectful, but never take yourself too seriously. And if you do that, you'll always be ambassadorial, and you'll always have a place here at the Ambassadorial Wing. We'll see you next time.
Let's be friends.
Have you not?
And here we go.